C.J. Walker lobs it up off the steal, finds Spearman in transition, and he flies in the air and gets the huge dunk. Jordan Seibert, 3 points.
There you go.
Make it 6 points. He buries the three from the top of the key.
Yeah, I've seen that jump shot many a times. That same shot to beat Boise State at the arena. Same play, same shot.
Sweetney has the ball stripped, kept alive, and that's what Trey Landers does. This time to C.J. Walker. Nice spin move quickly. The crowd's going crazy. C.J. Walker keeps it, lobs it up. Trevor Thompson with the slam in transition.
Nice. CJ with the lob to Trevor Thompson.
I love it. CJ Walker with the ball. Darrell Davis to his right. He passes it to Kendall Pollard to his left. Kendall Pollard right back to CJ Walker. Back to Kendall Pollard. Step back jumper. Is this how it ends? It is.
Oh!
Kendall Pollard.
One-on-one.
How about that? Look at the crowd. Look at the energy. Trey Landers mobs him with all his teammates.
It's the TBT on WING right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
We're live. We're local.
What are you going to miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. How are all of you? I hope you had a great weekend. Buckle up. We got a full 3 hours coming your way. We're going to talk a little Cincinnati Bengals football to open up. Mike Brown spoke to the media for the first time, or at least met with the media for the first time in over 2 years. Lots to dissect there. In fact, we'll be joined by Jay Morrison with The Athletic, who covers the Cincinnati Bengals. He'll be hanging out with us coming up here around the corner. So excited to hang out with him coming up just under an hour from now, top of the hour, 4 o'clock. But I did find it interesting that some of the takeaways from that meeting today, or from the press conference today, Joe Burrow will be fully healthy. Joe Burrow will be ready to go and ready to rock and roll come this upcoming 2021 NFL season. But my favorite part of the whole conversation that Jay Morrison tweeted out earlier today about his conversation with Zach Taylor trying to say all the right things. But to me, of course, I could pinpoint there. I can nitpick everything and find things wrong. Zach Taylor says that they are going full steam ahead with Joe Burrow. No restrictions, full steam ahead, because he says they do not want to be overprotective of him. Now, if you know me, if you could just get a feel for how much I laughed when I read that line, that Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals do not want to be overprotective of Joe Burrow. If there is one thing that the Bengals have ever set out to do, and they have actually accomplished that goal, I think the goal from the very beginning was we want to be as least protective of Joe Burrow as possible, which has led to the problem that they have in the first place. But no, I'm going to have a normal conversation about the Bengals today. So relax. But I did find that very interesting that Zach Taylor said that we have no intentions of being overprotective of Joe Burrow. Have they ever? Have the Cincinnati Bengals at any point throughout this time since acquiring Joe Burrow or drafting Joe Burrow number 1 overall ever thought to themselves, we need to be overprotective? They weren't overprotective in free agency. They weren't overprotective in the NFL draft. They have not been overprotective at all since they knew they were going to have the number 1 overall pick, since they realized that he was going to be available with that number 1 overall pick, or that he was going to be that good. But the bottom line is they knew they were going to take a quarterback number 1 overall last season anyway. So why would the offensive line not have been more of a concern? Look, I'm done beating that drum, that dead horse, whatever the saying is. I'm over it. I'm not over it. I'm going to keep reminding you Bengals fans how wrong you are and how wrong your organization is, at least for the fans that continue to drink the Kool-Aid and think that Mike Brown knows what he's doing. But bottom line is, I do like the fact that, in all seriousness, without me nitpicking what Zach Taylor had to say, for Zach Taylor to come out and say that they are not going to be overprotective of Joe Burrow, that they are going to go out and let him play, I hope that is the case. I hope that's the case, because I really do think that sports in general overprotects athletes a little bit too much. Injuries are a part of the game. I do think that organizations have a responsibility to try to limit those risks of injury. But I don't think that the way that you limit risks of injury is by playing them less. I will never buy into that theory that you play them less to protect them from injury. That's why I can't stand the NBA. I'm a huge basketball fan. I love the National Basketball Association. I know not a lot of people do, but the bottom line is I do. But the one thing I can be very nitpicky about the NBA about is the fact that they baby the athletes, and they think that the key to prolonging an athlete's career is by playing them less. But then you have a player like LeBron James, who is entering almost played 20 seasons in the NBA. He's played 22 combined seasons if you add up all the playoff games and all the Olympic games and everything else. That dude, there is no load management with him. That guy plays. That guy plays and plays and plays. Now, to use LeBron as a standard is kind of that's not fair to do. There are only like select players that have ever reached LeBron's status, or that I should say LeBron has reached the status of very select few players from the team, from the sport's history. But as far as football goes, I know it's a physical sport, but what teams do to limit to limit the risks of injury is they stop hitting in practice by the time you get to early September. Talking with different coaches and having, Brian Billick on not too long ago, talking with him about how do you balance practices? What do you do there? And in fact, I heard him on with Colin the other day. He was on with us last month, basically saying the same thing, that, for him, back when he was coaching, they would eliminate all physical contact practices by the time they got to September. That they would get, you got to be able to kind of get some physical time in during practice, during, training camp, during preseason. But once you get going, these are professionals. They know how to hit. They know the fundamentals. They know how to tackle. They know how to do those things. They don't have to constantly be pounded on to remember how to do this. So bottom line is, I hope that's the case for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I also hope that they do not baby him, that they don't overprotect him. I hope that they protect him. The only individual's responsibility that it is to protect Joe Burrow is that offensive line. All right. If you are Jackson Carman, if you're Riley Reif, if you are any of those guys on that offensive line, you are the ones that have to be overly protective of Joe Burrow, not Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor needs to do his job and put them in position to succeed. I think that they have a lot of the right weapons to be confident and optimistic moving forward. I don't think that they're going to be very good this upcoming season. Not because I'm a hater, but it's because I have common sense. It's because you have the Ravens and Lamar Jackson in that division. Whether you want to admit it or not, you have Baker Mayfield in that Browns offense and that defense in that division. You also have two very good coaches in Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski in that division. You also have Mike Tomlin, who's one of the top coaches in the NFL in that division. And whether you want to admit it or not, even though the Steelers have taken a step back, it's still the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got to give them their due. So no, I do not think that the Bengals are going to be good this year. Not because I'm a hater. Once again, it's because I have common sense. Fan is short for fanatic. I get why you are excited and feel optimistic about it. But if you're excited about winning 5 or 6 games this year, then I applaud you. I was excited when the Browns won 7 games after going 0-16. So I know what it's like to be at this stage of the rebuild. More power to you. Now, here's the other part of the equation. Joe Burrow is unlikely to play in the preseason. That's Mike Brown. So I do have to wonder, and I don't think that people say where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think that there is smoke, and I do not think that there is fire here. I see some people questioning how much, what is the communication like between Zach Taylor and Mike Brown, mainly because I thought there were mixed messages in the delivery today. You had Zach Taylor saying that he is going to be involved in every drill and every practice and every, step of the way moving forward, talking about Joe Burrow. And then Mike Brown addresses the media and says that he's unlikely to play in the preseason. Now, we all know that Mike Brown will have the final say in that situation. And if Mike Brown does choose not to play Joe Burrow in the preseason, my takeaway is this. I actually wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind if Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns didn't play Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't mind that at all. Now, when I say don't play, I do think that maybe these guys should maybe get a snap or two. But I do believe there is another reason as to why Mike Brown does not want Joe Burrow playing in the preseason. Not because he's being overprotective. Not because he doesn't want to risk Joe Burrow getting hurt in the preseason. I think it's because what Mike Brown wants to do is, for the first time in a long time, there's some optimism heading into the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. There's some excitement. You're excited to see Joe Burrow with his new toys. Of course, you have your longtime guys, and Tyler Boyd. You had T. Higgins last season. You have Joe Mixon. Of course, you bring Frank Pollock back, but you cannot wait to see Joe Burrow play with Jamar Chase. You know what you don't want to have happen in preseason? What you don't want to have happen is some issues. on offense. You don't want the offense to look the part that a lot of doubters are expecting them to look like me. You don't want them in the preseason to have the offensive line look like crap and have Joe Burrow running for his life in 3 meaningless preseason games and then already have the doubt of the fans settle in before you even get to week 1. I think by limiting Joe Burrow's participation in the preseason or eliminating it altogether as far as preseason games, I think that's Mike Brown's way of saying, yeah, I know we did not do enough. I know we did not fix this offensive line enough. I know we are not going to be good enough. But what I do need is I need the rest of July. I need the rest of August. And I need all the way up until week 1 of the NFL regular season to have my fans believe that we have a chance. Like, that's what I believe. I believe that by Mike Brown coming out and saying that Joe Burrow is unlikely to play in the preseason, that is his way of protecting the perception of the team as long as he possibly can. Because you can only live off of the optimism and the excitement for so long. I remember 2 years ago for the Cleveland Browns, after they were 0-16, they win 7 games, Baker's rookie year. All of the talk and all of the hype was about the Cleveland Browns. They added Odell Beckham Jr., right? Like, they had the, Nick Chubb had emerged in the rookie season. Baker Mayfield, breaks Peyton Manning's touchdown record. Everything was full steam ahead. And then all of that momentum, all of the talk, all of the chatter disappeared very quickly when they scored first against the Tennessee Titans in week 1 and then got routed by 3 possessions in week 1. And then they were horrible the rest of the year. They never once reached their potential. But for at least the Cleveland Browns had that entire preseason to be told how great they are. And I think that's what Mike Brown wants here. Mike Brown knows that it's going to be a long September. It's going to be a long September. It's going to be a long October, November, and December. It's going to be probably another season of picking in the top 10 at this upcoming NFL draft. I think Mike Brown knows all of that. So when Mike Brown comes out and says that Joe Burrow is unlikely to play this preseason, it is all about giving them one more month of positivity, one more month of hope, one more month of, man, I think we're going to be pretty good this year. And as long as the Cincinnati Bengals go out there without Joe Burrow during the preseason, even if they struggle in the preseason, everyone will just believe that once you just drop Joe Burrow back under center come week 1, that everything will be fine. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. I am clearly, reading your responses on Facebook, so I am curious your thoughts. Again, head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, jump in the conversation in the chat section, and I will gladly read your responses and get your response on air. You can also find us on YouTube. Search ESPN Dayton on YouTube and jump in on the conversation. Bradley Horn says overprotective of their franchise quarterback with a bunch of laughing emojis. I agree. I was laughing too. I think when Zach Taylor came out, and Zach Taylor with a very straight face says, we are not going to be overprotective of Joe Burrow. And I wish I was there in attendance, because I would have said, Mr. Taylor, I don't think anyone has ever wondered if you are going to be overprotective of Joe Burrow. I think what people are really wanting to know is, are you going to be protective at all? That's what fans want to know. Even the fans that drink the Kool-Aid, that actually think that this is the Dallas Cowboys type offensive line from years ago, that it's the Cleveland Browns offensive line from last year and this year, even the delusional fans, I think even you secretly are asking, yeah, but are we going to protect him at all? Aye. Ron Howard says, then how come they are sitting him all preseason? So I opened up talking about how Zach Taylor said they were going to be they were not going to be overprotective of him. It was going to be full steam ahead. But I am curious why he says that, and then Mike Brown does come out and says, well, he's not going to play in the preseason. So, Ron, very good question. I'm wondering the same thing. There has to be some kind of mixed messaging there, right? They didn't communicate before meeting with the media, right? I'm not sure what's going on there, but I think Bengals fans, you even have to wonder the same thing. Doug Morgan, if Joe Burrow finishes the season without getting hurt, it's a winning season. Next year and the year after that, they better be competitive. Then he will probably demand a trade, and I don't blame him. In all seriousness, as much as I bash the Bengals, I don't care what the market. If you are the Detroit Lions, if you protect your quarterback and you provide him with weapons and you give him a good coach and win games, I don't think any player out there wants to leave any mark. I don't think that this is the NBA where the second a team drafts you, that player is automatically thinking about getting the hell out of town. I don't think Joe Burrow, that's the case. As many jokes as I make about the organization, I make jokes about the organization because I think that they are a joke in their approach to putting a winner out on the field and doing what's best to protect their franchise quarterback. I believe if that offensive line pans out with T. Higgins, with Tyler Boyd, with Jamar Chase, at least with the expectations of what he's supposed to be, and if Joe Mixon can return to form, especially with Frank Pollock, the offensive line coach, returning, Joe Burrow will not want to leave Cincinnati. And why would he? if he does end up pulling an Aaron Rodgers years from now and wants out of Cincinnati, it will strictly be them and them only. It will be their fault and no one else to blame. It will not be a diva quarterback. It'll be a guy that has had enough. It is up to the Bengals to do their part, because I truly believe that I don't think there's a franchise out there as bad as Detroit is, as bad as the Bengals have been, as much of a joke as the Browns are. All of these bad teams seem to always have quarterbacks that always want to be a part of the organization coming in, because they always want to believe that, hey, this organization has a history of losing, but I want to be a part of the history of this history of us turning it around. Baker Mayfield wanted to be a part of the Browns turnaround, and he has been. He has been a part of the most success of this franchise since coming back from Cleveland the first time, right? So he's accomplished that. And I think that that's going to be the case moving forward for a lot of these. I don't care if you're the Lions. I don't care who you are. These quarterbacks want to come in and be a part of history. The worst franchise in the NFL, quarterbacks want to come in and be a part of the turnaround. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you look at what's going on there, if Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer can turn that franchise around, it will be one of the biggest headlines in all of sports, because that's an organization that just doesn't win. Now, I know they've had some pop-up seasons, okay, where they've been competitive and they've been okay, but no one has ever looked at the Jacksonville Jaguars and thought, man, that team is good. They've won some games, but they're not good. No one's ever said that. Trevor Lawrence wants to be a part of that turnaround with that franchise, and he wants to do it with Urban Meyer. Baker wanted to do it with the Browns. He's doing it. And I do believe that Joe Burrow wants to do that with the Cincinnati Bengals. On to the next one. Let's see what we got. Keith Tolliver says, come on, Justin. The reason Brown says don't play Burrow is so the backup quarterback can get the timing with the first team offense. With that O-line, the backup will get more than 5 games. It is what it is. Look, if you're just tuning in, Mike Brown, Bengals owner, met with the media today. Zach Taylor also met with the media today. And I think you have to be concerned as to why the mixed messages. Why is Zach Taylor saying Joe Burrow is going to be, and I believe he will be, he's going to be ready for practice. He's not on the PUP list. He is ready to go. He's going to be a part of every 7-on-7, 11-on-11. He's going to be a part of every practice. Zach Taylor said, we will not overprotect Joe Burrow, which, as I joked earlier, anytime the Bengals say we do not plan on overprotecting him, I believe him. It's one of the few times I actually believe him. But then Mike Brown comes out, says they're excited about the progress of Joe Burrow and that he does not envision him playing during the preseason. So there's that. Mixed messages. Billy Wright says, not on the record that I agree. Not on their record that I agree. 6-8 wins. Bradley Horn on Facebook says another Matthew Stafford situation in the making. Possibly. I do think Burrow has the makings to be better than Matthew Stafford, but we shall see over the long haul. Okay, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few moments. We'll come back. I'm going to open up the phone line, 457-9464. During this commercial break, we'll load up the phone lines and get your responses on the phone on the other side. One more time, 457-9464. Am I making a big deal out of nothing? Mike Brown, to me, when he says that they do not want to play Joe Burrow during the preseason, to me, what that is saying is that he's not confident they're going to win either. And right now, Bengals fans believe they're going to be better, significantly better, that they're going to win a lot of games, that they have Joe Mixon, they have T. Higgins, they have Tyler Boyd, they added Jamar Chase, all right? They bring back Frank Pollock, they add Riley Reif, they go out and get Jackson Cartman. They make all these changes. They believe they're going to be good. And I think Mike Brown's counting on a lot of delusional fans to buy into that. And I think that if you send Joe Burrow out in the preseason and Joe Burrow gets hit a few times and the offensive line looks shaky and Jamar Chase doesn't look like he's panning out and they look like they've made some whiffs on the defensive side of the ball, I think then Mike Brown's fear is that all the optimism and excitement that they've been building on during this offseason will be lost before they even get to week 1. If you sit Joe Burrow out and you let him play in week 1, and that's the first time Bengals fans get to see him, you at least prolong the optimism. You at least get to take that excitement into week 1 before having your dream shattered in week 2 of the preseason. 457-9464. It's the Justin Kinner Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of podiatric medicine are physicians. They set broken bones, perform wound care, treat corns, calluses, remove bunions, and can even perform total ankle replacements. Our physicians complete 3-year residencies in hospitals and train to manage your total foot and ankle health. Athletes with arch problems or tendon issues frequently seek out care from our physicians. Common health issues that podiatric physicians treat include ingrown or fungal nails, as well as warts and skin problems like athlete's foot. If you have ulcers or blisters, you should have that checked and have your footwear checked too. Diabetics are especially prone to foot issues when they have neuropathy. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? Visit associationsadvanceohio.com to find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association to help you, so you know that you are being treated by the very best.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Goodyear believes in the power of moving forward. No matter if it's on the track, the court, or the field, movement makes us want to be more. It pushes us to go further, to show the world what we can do. Movement has the unique ability to change our perspective, to challenge us, to work for a better tomorrow. Movement can even bring us together when we're still. Because if we're focused on the next move, we don't have to worry about what's behind us. Goodyear, more driven.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Don't overpay for glasses. Get 2 pairs and a free exam for just $69.95. That's not just a better deal. It's America's best. Book your exam online today.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner hanging out with you here on a Monday. I really do hope you guys all had a great weekend. I spent the weekend in Columbus bringing you the TBT on WING. Unfortunately, the Dayton Flyers Red Scare team, they were not able to continue their TBT run. They got eliminated yesterday. But Carmen's Crew, Ohio State's alumni team, punched their ticket to the third round. I'll be heading back to Columbus tomorrow evening for a 9 p.m. tip-off. Carmen's Crew, again, if they win tomorrow night, they will advance to the championship weekend at UD Arena, which we're looking forward to that. Really hoping, I mean, if Red Scare would have won yesterday, that would have set up the big matchup tomorrow to kind of set up what would have hopefully been the Buckeyes against the Flyers at UD Arena. Man, I mean, UD did not get to play in the A-10 tournament at UD Arena. You have the TBT at UD Arena. They couldn't make it to that part of the tournament either. I want them at UD Arena. Let's go. Hopefully a year. I don't even know how the process works with getting these TBT locations down. I don't know if the Covelli is set for next year as well or how it works, but I hope UD gets some first round matchups. I mean, maybe they wanted the championship rounds, which why wouldn't you? Those were the bigger rounds, but at least the first rounds, you would at least guarantee your team to play on their home floor. Maybe that'll be the case next year, but that was a lot of fun. Norm Greavy and I, man, I couldn't believe how many Flyers. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I do believe how many Flyers fans showed up. Like, that's what you guys do. Like, it was unreal. So there we go. But we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show. We're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, and jump in on the conversation. So Billy doesn't like my Bengals take, which I don't expect a lot of Bengals fans to like my Bengals takes, and that's totally understandable. Billy Wright says, just when you think Kinner can't possibly be dumber, hold my beer Bengals takes begin. Shake my head. Billy, enlighten me. How is that take bad? What is it what can you counter with? What has this team done for you to counter with to say that my take is dumb? Because I have more points on my side that say your take is dumb for thinking otherwise. Like if we're going to get into the name calling game here, that game I will always win. I can call names. I can call names with the best of them. So let's go. I can win that game. That's totally fine. I'm not even worried about that competition there. The bottom line is you can't sit here and defend an organization that, again, the first time that your owner talks to media in 2 years is talking out of both sides of his mouth. And then you have the head coach saying one thing and the owner saying another. I mean, we rip the Dallas Cowboys for this. If Mike McCarthy would have come out and said, we are really looking forward to having Dak Prescott be full go. Dak Prescott's going to be ready for the first day of practice at training camp, which he is. He's practicing now, but he's going to play in every preseason game. We cannot wait to see Dak Prescott out on the field. And then if Jerry Jones would have come out and said, and I can't even do his little accent. I wish I could. Otherwise, I would knock it out of the park right now. But if Jerry Jones came out and said, no, we have no intentions of playing him during the preseason, people would rip them. People would destroy the Dallas Cowboys if you had your coach come out and say one thing and Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones, the owner, come out and say the other. So how am I that crazy for pointing out the flaws in the organization for already embarrassing themselves on the very first day that they opened themselves up to media before training camp begins? So Zach Taylor says Joe Burrow is going to play. And then very fun and a lot of irony here in his statement that they do not plan on overprotecting Joe Burrow. He goes, we do not plan on being overprotective. Well, I don't think they've ever been protective of him to begin with, which is why he hasn't even played a full season yet heading into year 2. And then Mike Brown says he's not going to play at all in the preseason. So which is it? You're not going to be overprotective. You're going to let him participate in every drill. He's going to practice. He's going to be full go, full steam ahead. Or as Mike Brown said, not going to participate at all. So here is Mike Brown, his comments regarding Joe Burrow. He goes, we probably aren't going to put him out there until we get to the season because we don't want to risk anything with him. Brown said in his first news conference since 2019, but his effort rehabbing was A+. All right, so good job getting healthy. Good job, healing your knee or ACL, wherever the hell it was that he hurt. Good job on all of that. Now, we don't want you to re-hurt it. If you were that concerned about his leg, Mr. Brown, why wait till a day before training camp starts for you to decide to tell people you care about it whenever you had the chance to show that you cared by addressing the offensive line at a much higher urgency rate in the offseason, not, in free agency. Joe Burrow's leg means a lot to you, but Joe Thuney, his leg's worth a lot to me, but he's not worth the price that the Chiefs spent on him. Oh, but the Chiefs, they had the money to pay him. Oh, you mean the team, the Chiefs had money to pay Joe Thuney? Joe Thuney's sister came out on Twitter and said that the Bengals were one of the organizations he wanted to play for, but they were concerned about them being cheap, and they were cheap, and they wouldn't give him what he was worth. So he goes to Kansas City. Kansas City, who doesn't have money. Oh, Kansas City has the money to pay him? You mean the organization that just gave $500 million to their quarterback? The team with the $500 million quarterback has money to sign Joe Thuney, but the team with a rookie quarterback doesn't. Explain that to me. I'm all ears. Now, I'm all ears. I'll wait. And then, Kevin Zeitler, they wouldn't even pay him $12 million a year. Apparently $12 million a year is Joe Burrow's knee's not even worth $12 million a year. But now you have the Mike Brown, the owner, coming out and saying we're probably not going to put him out there because we don't want to risk anything with him. Well, then why play him in week 1? Why play him in week 2? In fact, why play him at all? Just keep letting fans be big Joe Burrow fan favorites and don't throw him out there at all so you don't risk him getting hurt. I hate baseball when they do this. Baseball has turned into 162 games of let's save our guys for fill in the blank. Let's not win game 1 of 162 game season because we might need to win game 2. And then you get to game 2 and it's, we don't want to go too far into the game today because we might need to win game 3. And then we do that in 162 games later. It's like, what were you saving them for? Same thing with the NFL. You don't practice him. You don't play him in preseason. Week 1, he probably gets hurt. Well, it's a good thing you sat there and you try to protect him then, huh? If you really want to know how to protect your players, it starts up front. If they really cared about protecting Joe Burrow, sitting him out of preseason games is not it. Sitting him out of practices is not it. Paying for an offensive line, that was it. You don't get to preach, oh, we want to protect him. We want to limit the risks of him getting hurt. We want to do all of these things when the one opportunity you had to actually protect him, you just let come and go. Free agency, the draft, trades, all of it. You let it go. But now you're going to try and preach to the media and preach to the fans that, well, we might not play him in preseason because we kind of want to protect him from injury. Oh, okay, champ. Okay. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. To the phones we go. Who we got? We got Scott. Scott, thanks for holding. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I got to tell you, I'm a Dolphins fan, and our quarterback's in a very similar situation that Burrow is. But my owner's not talking. And show me a modern team in any sport where the owner has press conferences and they're winning. It doesn't exist. It's embarrassing. Mike Brown is an embarrassment to owners. He shouldn't be talking. It undermines everyone else's confidence in the head coach.
Well, real quick, Scott, I'm fine with him talking. I don't mind him talking because I do believe, I think, your owner needs to talk. I think it's worse when owners don't talk. I think owners need to be transparent. I think that when owners make the bad decisions and then they hide and then they throw their general manager and coaches out to the media to answer the tough questions, I think that makes them look like cowards. So I give Mike Brown credit for addressing the media, even though it was for the first time in 2 years. But I do see your point. I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong, but at the same time, I would be upset if my team owner never addressed the media, because I feel like if my team is losing, the owner better be facing the media. The owner needs to face the media and answer the questions of why we didn't do this. Why did you pick a kicker over an offensive lineman? Why did you only pick one offensive lineman in the first 4 rounds?
Is he still the GM?
What's that?
Is Mike Brown the GM?
He has final say over everything, just like most owners. But they have Duke Tobin, who kind of is an unofficial GM, right? Like, they have an unofficial GM. They have a bunch of guys in a room talking. But bottom line is, I think he should. But here's my problem, Scott. It's not that he would address the media or if he wouldn't address the media. It's the fact that if you are going to address the media, I would hope that you and your coach have a united front. And the fact that he had one message and Zach Taylor had another, I think that's a problem. And that should be concerning to some folks that they're not on the same page.
Well, you've grown up in Ohio just like I have, and Mike Brown's never had a united front with any coach he's ever had, and that's the problem. I don't agree with you at all about owners talking. I love my coach, the Dolphins coach, and he's the face of our organization. He's the guy that makes me think, okay, we got a chance. This guy knows what he's doing. I don't need to hear from the owner. I'm not interested in unless he's going to just come out and just flat say, hey, we're all in. We're going to spend money in a very generic fashion. But when owners start talking, just show me a team that's successful where their owner talks. Show me. Name one.
There's not one that I'm aware. I don't know. To be fair, though, I don't sit there and follow Robert Kraft press conferences. I'm not sure how regular, how often he addresses the media. Sure. I can't. Like but Jimmy I know Jones, what you're saying.
He's a narcissist. He's the reason why Dallas sucks. But he couldn't handle Jimmy Johnson having a little shine. So Jimmy Johnson's gone. And guess what? Since then, what have the Cowboys done? When your owner's out there, like the Utah Jazz, their owner, he can do all of the TV shows he wants to do. But if I'm a Jazz fan, I don't want to hear from him. Show me the GM and let them talk about the philosophy and the head coach. That's the face of your organization. But anyway, before I hang up, I just wanted to say hashtag fire David Bell.
Keeping that train going. Now they took 2 or 3 from the Cards.
The thing, that game yesterday, I was so embarrassed. He either sits on his hands and waits too long, or he's double switch happy. I can't figure out where the guy's coming from.
Look, the double switch thing, that's never going to change, unfortunately. And I'm with it. Me and you, I'm on your side 1,000,000% when it comes to that. But big picture, when they won Saturday night, when they beat the Cardinals Saturday night, I'm not saying that Sunday's game didn't matter, because every game matters when you are chasing the division leader and there's no one in front of you. But big picture, I could sit here and be down after every loss, or look at the big picture and, okay, they took 2 or 3 from the Cardinals. They won a series at home. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm curious what they do at the Cubs, because this Cubs team is about to blow everything up, and they start that series tonight at Chicago. Wow. I think we're going to learn a lot about who the Reds are on the road. It's they've been playing well at home, but they've been playing well on the road too in the first half. They took 3 or 4 from the Brewers to close out the first half. can they pick up that momentum and win at the Cubs? I know it's the Cubs, but it's like the Steelers in the NFL. The Steelers are not good. They're not as good as what they have been in years past, but they're still the Steelers. You still have to respect them on the road. That's kind of how I am with the Cubs. They may not be as good as years past, but you're on the road. You're at Chicago, and they still have some good weapons on that roster. So we'll see what the Reds do this week.
Yeah, I'm still rooting. I'm still a diehard Reds fan, but I hate every day that Bell's our coach. And if they have dominating starting pitching during the series, and there doesn't need to be a double switch in the bottom of the sixth inning, we can win. We can sweep the Cubs, no problem. But if we're in a situation where Bell starts fiddling, we're not gonna win the series.
All right, hey Scott, great hearing from you, man. I appreciate it. I hope you had a good weekend. Take care.
Bye.
All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. So Bradley Horn on Facebook, he says preseason does serve a purpose. All right, and he goes on to say that I would argue that him getting some snaps in preseason is actually a good idea. I agree with you on that. Like, I do believe that at the end of the day that he should get some snaps in preseason, but I also don't have a problem if coaches don't play their star quarterback during the preseason. If the Bucs came out and said they're not going to play Tom Brady during the preseason, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If the Browns said Baker's not going to take a snap during the preseason, I mean, when coaches say that they're not going to take a snap during preseason, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to practice. It just means they'll practice, but there's no need to throw them out there. In practice, it's a little bit more of a controlled environment. You trust that your defense in those contact scrimmages, you can trust that Myles Garrett and those guys are not gunning for the quarterback to take out Baker's legs. You can't be in control of that in a preseason game. You don't know what the intentions of the opposing team is going to be. Even if it is preseason, I'm not going to trust them to take it easy on my quarterback in the preseason because they're trying to get ramped up defensively as well. So I have no problem with sitting your quarterback during preseason games. None whatsoever. They're still practicing, and that's all that matters. So Mike Brown saying that they don't want to play Joe Burrow during the preseason, I don't have a problem with it. I question the motives. I don't think it's being done for the right reasons. When Mike Brown says we don't want to play him during the preseason to protect him, he has not had any interest in protecting Joe Burrow since the second they drafted him. And now you want to tell me that your interest is in protecting him? You want to your time to protect him was during free agency and the draft, and you screwed both of those up, and you screwed up last year's free agency and draft. So don't waste your time with me telling me, oh wait, we gotta protect him, we gotta sit him during the preseason. You sit down, talk to the media in 2 more years. How about that? Gary Lepla on Facebook. He says half of these people are dumbasses. You need an intelligence test to call in. Okay. Thank you, Gary, for jumping in. Gary, you call in. I'm curious your thoughts on all of this. I'd love to hear from you. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We'll take your calls. More of your calls coming in. We'll get to you on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Greatness. It's not born of coincidence. It's not a product of luck. It's forged through dedication, drills, and the acquisition of new skills. Wanting won't get you there, but sweat equity just might.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street wants to wish the Dayton Flyers Red Scare the best of luck in their journey through the basketball tournament. Wear red, be loud, go Flyers!
Save big money on your next project with 11% off everything at Menards. Senco has the tools you need to get your project done right. In stock now. Check out the Duraspin corded screwdriver. It makes it quicker and easier to fasten decking, flooring, and drywall. All Senco tools are 11% off. Get 11% off everything at Menards. Good through July 31st. Savings are mail-in rebates. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards. Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
There's something special about a sit-down family meal together. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, we couldn't agree more. That's why we're making it easy with our 8-piece family meal for only $22.99. Enjoy a classic family meal without the hassle. It includes 8 mixed pieces of Famous Recipe Chicken, 2 large sides, and 4 fluffy biscuits. At Lee's, making your family's meal special is what we do best. Get a home-style meal made easy with our 8-piece family meal for only $22.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Don't overpay for glasses. Get 2 pairs and a free exam for just $69.95. That's not just a better deal. It's America's best. Book your exam online today.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
Oh, what? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
CJ Walker lobs it up off the steal, finds Spearman in transition, and he flies in the air and gets the huge dunk. Jordan Seibert, 3 points.
Go.
Make it 6 points. He buries the 3 from the top of the key.
Yeah, I've seen that jump shot many a times. That same shot to beat Boise State at the arena. Same play, same shot.
Sweetney has the ball stripped, kept alive, and that's what Trey Landers does. This time to CJ Walker. Nice spin move quickly. The crowd's going crazy. CJ Walker keeps it, lobs it up. Trevor Thompson with the slam in transition.
Nice. CJ with the lob to Trevor Thompson.
I love it. CJ Walker with the ball. Darrell Davis to his right. He passes it to Kendall Pollard to his left. Kendall Pollard right back to CJ Walker. Back to Kendall Pollard. Step back jumper. Is this how it ends? It is.
Oh!
Kendall Pollard.
One-on-one.
How about that? Look at the crowd. Look at the energy. Trey Landers mobs him with all his teammates.
It's the TBT on WING right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kenner with you here on a Monday. So we're in 10 minutes. We will hear from Jay Morrison. He covers the Cincinnati Bengals for The Athletic. So I'm excited to chat with him coming up here around the corner. He was one of those in attendance meeting with Mike Brown today. So we'll chat with him. We'll hear more about the Sam Hubbard extension, 4 years, $40 million extension. So interested to hear his thoughts on that. And just overall the expectations for the team heading in. I'm curious on the scale of 1 to 10, where would Jay rank the job security for Zach Taylor heading into the 2021 season? So for a normal team, I would say, I don't think that the job security is very high at all, but Mike Brown got so much leeway. And, I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. If you want me to say something nice about the Bengals, I'll say this. What people did not like about Mike Brown when it came to Marvin Lewis is what I did like. I like that he did give Marvin Lewis a chance to bring the team up. And he gave Marvin Lewis a chance to, okay, if the team starts crashing, he's giving him a chance to bring it back again. I will never understand that once a coach proves that he could win, why do you sit there and doubt that that's who he is when you start to have a few down seasons. Owners play a role in the success of coaches. Do I think Zach Taylor can coach? I think he knows his stuff, but do I think he can coach? No. I'm not a Zach Taylor guy. But at the same time, I will admit that if I'm going to make a list of all the issues with the Bengals, I don't know if he's in my top 3. So I think if you make a list of everything that you need to fix on the Bengals, if Zach Taylor comes up at number 4 or 5, I don't think that saying that you need to fire Zach Taylor is one of those things that needs to happen in 2021. I think that if if the offensive line ends up being drastically improved, if the defense is a top 10 defense, if Jamar Chase ends up being a breakout wide receiver in his rookie season, if all of those things happen and they're still not winning ball games, then that's on Zach Taylor. But if the offensive line is still crap, that's on ownership. That's on Duke Tobin. And if bringing back, Pollock for this offensive line, if that doesn't pan out, that's on ownership. That's not on Zach Taylor. Like, there's a lot of things that I don't think should fall on Zach Taylor, but ultimately I think it will at some point. But I did like that Mike Brown gave Marvin Lewis a lot of leeway and said, hey, we know that you brought this franchise up, and now he let him lose for a few years. It's not like Marvin Lewis made the playoffs in 15, missed in 16, and was gone by 17. As you all know, he was around for a few more years after that, but I didn't mind that. Marvin Lewis brought the Bengals back from the dead once before. Why would he not be able to do it again? I'm not saying he should be the coach now, folks. If you're just tuning in and catching that, I can see why if you're missing some context, why it sounds funny me saying that. My point is I like that Mike Brown was very patient with Marvin Lewis, because I get nauseated with the NFL and really all pro sports is that the second you start losing, it's, oh my gosh, the players don't like it. It's the player's job to respect the coach. But sometimes some coaches aren't in a position to demand respect. Like Zach Taylor, I don't think should be a head coach, not just because it's the Bengals. All right. I think across the board, I like Kevin Stefanski, who was an offensive coordinator for a long, long time. It wasn't just, he was the quarterback / running back / assistant to the assistant offensive line coach for one season under Sean McVay, and boom, we're going to give him a job. Like, I think that's lazy, and I think that's ignorant to think that, because he shared a coach's room with McVay, that all of a sudden he's just going to turn the offense around. If the offense does end up clicking, it's not because of Zach Taylor. It's because you have Joe Burrow. It's because you have Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon and T. Higgins. And it's because the offensive line improved. It's not because Zach Taylor. Like, that's the stuff that drives me crazy. And I'm not saying that, and by the way, talent doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed to win. Look at the Browns from a few years ago. But I do believe that it's more important than ever when you are developing a quarterback and developing a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback. I think it's very important to have a seasoned, experienced coach. And I don't necessarily mean a seasoned head coach. Kevin Stefanski was a first-year head coach last year. But because he'd been around the game for so long, because he was running an offense in Minnesota, because he was responsible for the success of that offense as well, he knew how to manage and run a team. Not Zach Taylor. So I just went from saying they shouldn't fire him to giving you reasons why, but I don't think they should fire him. I just don't think he should have been hired, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Can you at least meet me halfway, Bengals fans? Can we at least meet halfway when I say I don't believe he should be fired? I just don't think he should have been hired. Does that make sense? I would hope it does. I would hope it does, because that's kind of where I'm at. I just think that the Bengals have way too many holes to address. Firing the coach is not going to fix those holes. What I hate, what ends up happening, it drives me nuts. Like, for instance, the Reds. David Bell, if Brian Price had David Bell's players, Brian Price would not have lost so many games, and Brian Price most likely would have not been fired. People act like Brian Price was a horrible manager. You give Joe Torre, you give Tony La Russa, you give Dusty Baker, you give any manager out there, AJ Hinch, you give any manager out there that crap that Brian Price had, they'll look bad too. But then everyone acts like, David Bell takes over for Brian Price, and now look at all the games that they win, and they've already made the playoffs, and they're competing for a division title this year. They weren't doing that with Brian Price because they didn't have talent. You jabronis out there that like to sit there and poke fun at Popovich, by the way, with the Olympic basketball team, he has Dame Lillard and Kevin Durant and Zach LaVine. Oh man, this man, Pop is doing horrible with this team. Man, Coach K, he was killing it. Coach K had Russell Westbrook, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade. He had every great player you could think of. Of course, Coach Krzyzewski dominated with Team USA. When your third best player is Zach LaVine on the Team USA, of course you're going to struggle if you're Greg Popovich. People need to stop acting as if that coaching could just turn things around, that coaching could just take crap and win with it. You can't. Sometimes you're just a bad roster, and that's what Team USA is. That's what Brian Price had with the Reds. That's what Joe Burrow or Zach Taylor has with the Bengals, at least initially. Now I think the pressure is going to be increased dramatically as we enter this 2021 season, because although I don't expect them to not finish in last, I also think that they should look a lot more competitive. I think they should be in more ball games. I don't think that they're going to be able to use the excuse, oh, well, our defense is really, really bad. If you have spent $240 million on your defense the last 2 years, even if your defense is bad, you still don't get a pass just to say, well, statistically, we have the worst defense in the league. Well, you shouldn't, because of the money you paid to have that talent. So there's that. Jay Morrison, we'll chat with him coming up here in 10 minutes. Let's go to the phones. We got Justin with us. Justin, how are you, man? I appreciate you holding.
Hey, no worries. All right, so I'll give you my take as a Bengals fan.
Bengals fan. This is nice. This is interesting. We're chatting. We're communicating. We're coexisting. Yeah. Okay.
It's going to be all right. I agree with your points. What got my attention was this weekend I saw that they signed 3 offensive linemen. One from for training camp, one from or 2 potentially, one from the center from Kansas City from last year, and another one from either the Panthers or the Giants from last year. I didn't hear when Mike Brown had made that announcement. I've been driving her all day, so when I saw that, I'll give you my delusional statement. Maybe Mike Brown learned a lesson from Carson Palmer when Carson Palmer had that horrific knee injury by Kimo von Hoffen in the playoffs. Maybe he's like, no, I'd rather him wait until we know he's good to go, give him some more practice time. The other point is, if he's doing this now, then he waited to the last minute and he waited too long to do all this, and he still got Pollock. We'll see what he does. I'm hopeful that they win more games than what they've done since the last time they've been to the playoffs. But realistically, we already know that Mike Brown said, you guys wanted Lewis out, so now you're stuck with Taylor until he gets it worked out. So, and then my other point, when I was watching the Reds game at BW3's Saturday night, I was looking at David Bell, and he looked like he was literally checked out a few times. It's like, either if they win, they win. If not, I think he's getting ready to pack his bags and say la vie if they don't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, look, I don't think that's going to, I thought that he was close to being on the hot seat last year when they were losing and they finally went on that winning streak in that last couple of weeks of the season, the shortened COVID season, to make the playoffs, which would not have made the playoffs had they not expanded it last year. And I think they're going to miss it again this year. But if I'm David Bell, this is probably your best opportunity to make it, unless the Reds go all in at the trade deadline coming up. So we'll see what happens moving forward. I don't think David Bell's going anywhere. I think that he's here for the long haul, whether we like it or not. And I'm not really calling for his job, but at the same time, anyone out there that thinks he's done a great job is just kind of laughable. He's been 500 since he got here. And if you look at the talent that he has had since coming here compared to Brian Price, it's laughable to sit there and say, man, he's way better than Brian Price. You don't know. When you give a coach nothing but crap, you can't sit there and say, well, they're a bad manager. Well, you can't give a manager nothing to work with and then say, go win games. And then you can't give David Bell all the talent that he's had and then say, well, keep trying. Hopefully you'll win some games. No, you didn't give up pieces from the farm system to get Trevor Bauer to maybe win some games. You didn't do what you did to give up to get Sonny Gray and to extend him and do that. You didn't do any of those things. So it's laughable to me when people give David Bell the breaks that he gets. When Brian Price, they held Brian Price to a higher standard than David Bell, and David Bell has talent. So I'll never understand that mindset from people at all. So
absolutely,
we shall see. But Justin, it was good hearing from you, man. We got Jay Morrison coming up.
Yep. Hey, give me your thoughts about my take on the Bengals, too, when I'll be listening on the radio, okay?
Real quick, repeat your thoughts on the Bengals. My short-term memory, my ADD is all over the place today.
You're good. So I'm hoping the delusional part or the confident part, I'm hoping that Mike Brown just paid attention to what happened with Carson Palmer when he had his horrific knee injury. And then the other part is they just signed two people, one the ex-center from Kansas City and some other guy from the Giants or the Panthers. And I feel like this is too little too late. I'm hoping that they win more than what they've won in the last couple of years since the playoffs, but I mean, we got to see what's going on. And then the last part was Mike Brown said, you guys wanted Lewis out. Now you're stuck with Taylor until we see otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know if that was his intended tone, but when you have guys like me who are always looking to twist everything they say and do, that wasn't a smart thing to say, because that's what I took that and ran with it and said, oh, that was kind of his way to say, screw you fans. Hey, you wanted this. You get what you ask for, right? Like, well, fans also want an offensive line and they want to win. So do what you have to there. Look, I think ultimately Mike Brown wants to win. I just think some are more stubborn than others when it comes to the decision making. I think that he believes he made I think he sticks with this offensive line because he made these decisions. And if he goes in a different direction, the prideful man that he is, that would be him admitting, oh yeah, I whiffed on every one of these. And I think it's a pride thing. I think he wants to force these puzzle pieces that don't fit. And he wants to, almost bend them and squeeze it. He wants to cut the little corner off if it means just squeezing it in there to fit so that he could take credit for it, when I think that's what's getting in the way more than anything. I think that the owners that could say, yeah, I screwed up. We got to, like for the Haslams with the Browns, I'm not trying to rub salt in the wound here, but when they got rid of Zeitler in that 1 year, so Baker went from he got sacked like twice the amount in that second season than he has the seasons 1 and 3. And after that, they let Zeitler go. They realized, oh crap, we screwed up. And they addressed that offensive line. They spent money on Conklin. They drafted the kid from Alabama. Like, they went all in on that offensive line. And it's like that was him saying, okay, we screwed up by moving on from Zeitler. I wish Mike Brown would do the same thing, because the sooner they address that line, the quicker that the turnaround will be. So, Justin, it was fun talking to a Bengals fan and being on the same page for once. You take care, man.
Yes, sir. Take care. Bye.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Jake Whiting says, bro, we didn't sign anyone yet besides the dude we claimed from the waivers, the center. Jake, look, I don't mind. Look, I think you're going to see a lot of teams. Now that Cam's getting here, I didn't really make anything of the Bengals adding some offensive linemen right before camp starts. You get to carry a lot more guys. You get to carry some extra guys heading into training camp before you make the first round of cuts. I think it's smart. If you are allowed an X amount of guys in camp, you better fill those holes. We laughed at the Major League Baseball draft last week. I think the Cleveland Indians and the Angels, I think those two teams, all but one pick was a pitcher between the two teams combined. They just said, look, we know how important pitching is. We are going to grab every pitcher imaginable. And if only two turn out to be Cy Young caliber pitchers out of the 20 or 40 combined guys that they took combined, then that's a success, right? Because it's tough to find. If that's the Bengals' approach for the offensive line, I don't think that they're looking for starters, I guess, at the end of the day. I don't think that these guys were being added for starters. I think it's for depth. Injuries happen. Look at the Browns last year heading into the playoffs. Luckily, they had some guys step up and play some big snaps for them. Okay. Doug Toby. Doug Toby, if when I see Brian Price again, or when I see David Bell again, I'm going to give him your number, because you might be his biggest fan. You might be his only supporter. You defend him more than Nick Kirby and a lot of these other, advanced analytics supporters on Twitter. It is unbelievable. Sparky Anderson or Mark Schlemmer could not win with this bullpen, says Doug Toby. First of all, don't you disrespect Mark Schlemmer. If there's anyone out there that can win with that bullpen, I guarantee you it's Mark Schlemmer. Doug, Mark would be so disappointed in you for saying that. All right. Let's talk with Jay Morrison. We're going to get him on the line on the other side of the break. Hour 2 coming up.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie.
The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Monday. We welcome you back after a long weekend, and we're excited to transition to the NFL. Of course, that's no surprise to anybody. The NFL season getting closer and closer. Training camp will officially be underway here in the near future. So let's dive into it. Jay Morrison with The Athletic covers the Cincinnati Bengals, hanging out with us today. Jay, we appreciate your time. I hope you had a good weekend. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I had a great weekend. It was the wife's birthday. It was kind of like the big bash. Now, today was almost like the first day back to school. The summer is over for NFL beat writers.
First day back to school. And how is Mr. Brown, Mr. Mike Brown doing? You guys got to meet with owner of the Bengals today, Mike Brown. What was that press conference like? I'm sure there was a ton to dive into, as it's been a while since you guys have had a chance to sit in front of him.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years since he's spoken publicly. It was good. It was from our standpoint, it was a lot like years past. It was a little different for the TV guys. You know, they weren't pinning lavalier mics on him. Everybody had to kind of keep their distance. And I think he's 86 now. So the hearing plus masks made for a little bit of a challenge. He just asked people to pull their masks down and speak up when asking questions. And it was good. He didn't really break any news. He did allow that he's not a big fan of free agency and wishes it was still the day where you sign a guy and keep him forever. So that I don't think that surprised a lot of people. But yeah, he was he is very excited. Says that he thinks that this offensive line is going to surprise a lot of people, and that may have been the most newsworthy thing he said. I don't know if I agree with him, but that's the position they're in right now. Is this offensive line better surprise some people?
Now, this is it. Look, heading into year 2 with Joe Burrow, it's not like back in the day when you draft a rookie quarterback and it feels like you have you have 4 years to turn it around. It just seems like the expectations are you get a 1-year wiggle room window to win or lose with him as a rookie. And then year 2, not that you're expected to win a Super Bowl, but you are expected to take a gradual large step, right? So what is the expectations like as far as where the Bengals are at? I saw, your coverage of the press conference today and, talking with Zach Taylor as well. It doesn't sound like this is a team hoping to just take a few steps forward here in year 2 with Joe Burrow. It's a team that's going all in, and they spent a lot of money in the offseason. They feel like they made the right decisions in the draft and some of the names that they targeted. What is their realistic expectations heading into this year in a division that is pretty tough when you have the Browns and Ravens and even a Steelers team that may not be a typical Steelers team from years past, but you can never rule them out?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to say it, but I think they feel like they can compete for a playoff spot. I think that's probably the thought every year. You would maybe be in the wrong business if you didn't think you could at least be competitive and win. I think they're realistic enough to know that maybe they're a year away from having something really special. But yeah, there's a lot of optimism that with the moves they made in free agency, the decisions they made in the draft, it all starts and ends, like you said, with Joe Burrow, getting that guy back healthy. Zach Taylor declared him 100%, said that he's capable of he's been cleared to do everything in training camp. And that starts Wednesday with the first practice. In OTAs, it was kind of kid gloves. They didn't put him under center. They didn't even put running backs in the backfield because they didn't want any kind of slip up where somebody would mix up feet with him or trip him or anything like that. That all goes out the window now. It's going to be 11 on 11, Joe Burrow under center, regular offense, and he's going to test the confidence he has in that knee with traffic around him. He's not going to have a live pass rush or anything, and we're probably not going to see him in preseason games, but it's going to look, we're going to see progress from what we saw in OTAs to what we see him doing in training camp.
Now, look, the offensive line, always the main point of conversation when it comes to this team, mainly due to the fact that it's the biggest concern, or at least one of the bigger question marks. I know that they addressed it. They had Riley Reif in the offseason, of course, and then they get Jackson Carman, in the draft. And, then recently they went ahead and they've added, a couple names as well over the last week or two. Why now did they add a couple of these names? I know there were some concerns about Trey Hopkins. I know some of those rumors have been put to rest, that it sounds like everyone, at least from the offensive line standpoint, Jay, is very healthy heading in, that these moves were just done for depth purposes. What can you speak on about that?
Yeah, that's what they are. And they have 16-man practice squads again. So, you have guys that you're using as camp bodies in training camp to just kind of take some of the workload off of some guys. And if they show well, you keep them around on the practice squad and continue to develop them. But none of these guys that they're working out today or that they've signed recently are going to be in the mix for, starting jobs. Obviously they may not even come in play when it comes time for the final 53. But, Trey Hopkins was not on one of the injured. He wasn't on physically unable to perform. That means he's good to go. When he tore his ACL in the final game last year, which was January. That's amazing that he's ready already. But at the same time, you don't want to throw him in there and give him 100% of the reps of what he would normally be if he was coming off a healthy offseason. You got to be smart with these guys. So anytime in camp, I think we might see him add a wide receiver or two also. And it doesn't mean that those guys are going to compete for the 53, but it's just to take some wear and tear and off the legs of the wide receivers. And we all know what summer's like in Southwest Ohio. Those practices can be brutal. The more bodies you can get out there and kind of space out the workload, the better.
One big announcement, too, that was made recently was the extension for Sam Hubbard, 4 years, $40 million extension. I think that was everyone was expecting that. But again, just more attention being given to that defensive side. I mean, when you look at the money that they've spent on the defensive side of the ball the last 2 years, that's clearly the side that they're feeling like, look, even with some of the question marks at a lot of other positions, even on the offensive side, defense is where they're going to turn this around the quickest. Just speak on what this move means for the franchise moving forward. I know Zach Taylor had nothing but praise for Sam Hubbard, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have given him this extension.
Yeah, not just Zach, but Mike Brown, Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator. I mean, since the day, even going back to the Marvin Lewis regime, since Sam Hubbard got here, he has been just a model player. He does everything the right way. He doesn't have an off switch. He is constantly going hard. They love everything about him, and he has really stepped into that leadership role. And that gets noticed in a locker room when you draft a guy and see him do everything right, and you reward him with a big 4-year, $40 million contract. It lets guys know that, hey, if I work hard, I do things right, they're going to take care of me here. I think we're going to see Sam Hubbard be a captain this year. And it was really, it's a great deal for him, but he's not resetting the market for defensive ends. It just made sense for the Bengals, made sense for Sam. The big piece now is Jesse Bates. Where do they sign him? Is he going to be, by the time this training camp is over, is he going to be the highest paid safety in the league? I think that's his goal. I think the team knows that's what they're going to have to do to keep him. That's going to be the one. I think that the Sam Hubbard one was a kind of a rubber stamp. The Jesse Bates extension is going to be the one that's going to really be interesting to follow over the next 6 weeks.
Now, again, I mentioned all the money that they've spent on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, the expectations for that defense are to be vastly improved. I know, so much attention is given to the offensive woes or the offensive line woes, but defensively, this team has not really had a whole lot to brag about over the last few seasons. The expectations for the defense heading into this season is what? I know all the attention's on the O-line and Joe Burrow, but the defensive expectations are what, in your opinion, heading into this season?
Well, improvement for sure. I think it's the Lou Anarumo pointed it out today that, the last couple of years, they've been so thin on defense that when you put a certain package on the field, the offense knows exactly what you're going to do. And they've got to a point now where they've got guys who are not only better players, but are more versatile, and they can throw things. You can keep the same guys on the field and throw different looks at the offense. And that you're really kind of playing from ahead if you're able to do that. So that's what he's most excited about. It's still not a super deep defense. They have improved the starting lineup. So it's going to come down, like it does a lot of seasons, to help keeping these guys healthy, particularly the internal pass rush. I mean, DJ Reader, 100%. They signed Larry Ogunjobi from Cleveland. Great. Those are two great defensive tackles, but you don't have much behind that. And one of the guys they were counting on, the rookie 7th-round pick Wyatt Hubert, is out for the year with a torn pec. So that's really a position. That's another one I think that we may see them sign a player or two from, just to add some more bodies in camp, because they are thin along that defensive line, especially internally defensive line. But pass rush and improved coverage in the secondary, those are the two big things that they need to move forward this year. The linebackers kind of are what they are, but it's the D-line and the DBs is where that's going to carry this defense.
Jay Morrison covers the Cincinnati Bengals for The Athletic, hanging out with us here today on the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Jay, you mentioned Zach Taylor earlier. Coach Taylor's in an interesting position kind of heading into this season. We talked about it. What are the expectations? It's not Super Bowl or winning this division, but obviously, increasing the wins, being more competitive, winning some ball games. On a scale of 1 to 10, as far as job security goes, where would you rank his job security heading into this season as far as expectations to succeed, wherever that bar is, for what they would consider a successful season?
I would put it in the 5 or 6 range. I don't think he's on a super hot seat because, let's face it, they've been so bad the last couple of years. You can go out and play 500 this year, and everybody's like, okay, look, it's not what we wanted, but you're moving in the right direction. So he's got that kind of leeway where he doesn't have to have the super year this year to show improvement. And the other big thing with him is Joe Burrow is 100% behind Zach Taylor, and that might be the most important thing of all. If Joe Burrow endorses the guy, even if things, just show minimal improvement this year, I think it gets him another year. If you've got the quarterback and the head coach on the same page, which it has always been since Joe got here, I think that's the big thing. The one thing that people need to be worried about, particularly people in the Zach Taylor household, is a slow start. If this team gets off to a 1-4 start, 1-5, and things are going really south, and everybody's in that here we go again mode, that's when I think maybe you could see a change. But beyond that, I think this team's going to be around 500, and I think Zach Taylor's going to be back next year.
So on the offensive side, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Boyd, the addition to Jamar Chase, there's a lot of optimism about what this offense is going to look like. They addressed the offensive line to the satisfactory of some, not others heading in. But with that being said, what about the run game? Because there's so many other areas of focus that we don't, pay much attention to the fact that, you look at Mixon and his recent struggles. Are those recent struggles due to the O-line, due to injuries, regression since being paid? I mean, what are the pressures on him heading into this upcoming season, and any talk that's been made about his contributions throughout your meetings with Zach Taylor or Mike Brown?
Yeah, they're expecting a huge year from Joe Mixon. He obviously was held to 5.5 games last year. He was on pace to have career numbers in terms of targets and catches. I think we're going to see that continue. He's going to be a big part of the passing game, not just the running game. But you talk about free agency and all the guys and all the money they spent free agency this offseason and last offseason, but maybe the single most important signing they made was Frank Pollock and bringing him back as the offensive line coach. Joe Mixon was ecstatic when they announced it. The offensive linemen that were here in 2018 when Frank Pollock was here for Marvin Lewis's last year were fired up. They love playing for Frank. He's got all kinds of experience in this league. Not only as an offensive line coach himself, but as an assistant offensive line coach working under some very good line coaches. They've given him the position of run game coordinator. I think his presence might be the single most important one this year. If you're talking about new additions. Now, maybe not Jamar Chase, maybe not some of the offense, the rookies that they drafted, but in terms of free agency and the new signings, I think Frank Pollock is really going to make a big difference with this team, especially the run game.
All right, Jay, last thing on your way out here, to no surprise, you look at the Ring of Honor. I think everyone, or at least the favorites, were Ken Riley and Ken Anderson. Those ultimately were the two that were added to the inaugural Ring of Honor class with Anthony Munoz and Paul Brown. Do you know any more information as far as what the plan is for the Ring of Honor moving forward, as far as is it going to be 4 every year? But also just comment on the 2 names that were selected in the voting process by the season ticket holders.
Yeah, we don't know yet. They don't know yet if they're going to do 2 per year, 4 per year, if they're going to, see if in a certain year, if it warrants to, maybe if they limit it to 2 next year and the fan vote isn't what they'd hoped for, maybe they make go 4 the year after that. I think it's in flux, but I wouldn't be surprised even if Chad Johnson had gotten more votes, if they would have just kind of fudged the numbers a little bit. It had to be Ken Anderson and Ken Riley. Those guys are on the cusp of the Hall of Fame, that they're doing this to honor the greatest players in franchise history. I just think it wouldn't have been the best look to have Chad Johnson leapfrog either one of those guys. It's already just a tragic shame that Ken Riley's not going to be with us to enjoy that on September 30th and seeing his name up there. For people listening that don't know, he passed away last June. Ken Anderson's in great health as far as we know, but you just never know. And so to honor these older guys, the ones that kind of built the foundation of this franchise, was the right way to go. If it was a legitimate vote, then kudos to the season ticket holders. You did a great job. But even if Chad had more votes, I think the organization still would have said, okay, Ken and Ken were the ones that the fans picked.
Man, see, the whole political temperature has just made everyone not trust any outcome of anything with votes out there whatsoever. Look at Jay already starting the speculation that it wasn't an honest vote. Good for you, Jay.
That was not my intent.
That's not. I know. I'm
always skeptical of fan voting. Political voting, I got a little more faith in. Fan voting, sometimes I think the team gets what the team wants.
And absolutely, as long as the perception is that you got to participate in the vote, then that's all that matters. Everyone goes home happy. But Jay Morrison covers the Bengals for The Athletic. I appreciate him hanging out with us here today. Give him a follow on Twitter at JMorrisonATH. Again, Jay Morrison with The Athletic at JMorrisonATH. Give him a follow on Twitter. One of the best out there covering the Cincinnati Bengals. You definitely want to follow along, especially as training camp is upon us. Jay, thank you so much for your time. Have a great week.
Hey, always great jumping on with you, Justin.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear, sunny, and muggy, a high near 92. Tonight will be mainly clear, a low near 65. And tomorrow will be mainly clear, sunny, and muggy, a high near 92. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back. Baby back. You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
I miss my baby, someone stole my baby. By the way, my baby is my landscaping truck that was literally stolen from a job site. Baby, won't you please come home?
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with 30-plus customizable coverage options, Progressive Commercial keeps your business humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I love my sweetheart. By the way, that's my riding lawnmower.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
When the doctor told us about my mom's cancer, it made me feel so helpless. Until I called the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and spoke with Grace, who answered all of my questions about the disease, treatment options, and cancer-related expenses. Her support and compassion made us feel whole again. Today, I'm calling Grace to let her know my mom is beating cancer. To learn more, visit lls.org.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for fur babies. If you think it's been hard being stuck at home for a year, think about your dog. It's been 7 years for them, and they deserve to get out and sniff the world too. So grab Daisy, Ranger, or Doodles and hit the road. But be sure to stick your head out the window and look for a Motel 6. And like all pets, Baxter stays free. Hot dog. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. On that heavy shelf you hung yesterday. Turns out you didn't use enough anchors. Wait, you didn't use any anchors? Now you've got an open floor plan. Trendy. And if you have the wrong home insurance, you could need a wall of money to fix this. So get home insurance with Allstate and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. We're live. We're local. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome back. Big thanks to Jay Morrison with The Athletic. Covers the Cincinnati Bengals. Good enough to hang out with us here on a Monday coming out. We'll dive back into this Bengals conversation more coming up around the corner, but I did find it interesting. Zach Taylor comes out today, head coach of the Bengals, and says, that Joe Burrow is 100% ready to go, 100% ready to rock and roll. They will not hold him out of any drills or practices, and that they will not overprotect him. They have no interest in being overprotective. And as I joked, I don't think at any point have the Bengals tried to be protective at all of Joe Burrow based on the work that they've done on that offensive line. So there's that. But the bottom line is I respect that they're not going to baby him and they're not going to overprotect him and they're going to just throw him out there because, hey, that's what you're paid. You're paid to play football. You're not paid to sit on the sidelines. And if you end up sitting on, if you're that delicate, protecting him means nothing because he's just going to get hurt to begin with. And I don't think he is. I'm just saying, I think that any sport that's continuously tries to prevent injuries by hiding the athletes, I don't understand the point in that. You are basically doing what you are afraid the injuries are going to do. You're afraid that the injuries are going to hurt them and take them out of action. So to prevent them from being out of action, you take them out of action? I don't get that. Injuries are going to happen. I don't think that they're preventable. I think that you can limit the risks, but I don't think that not playing or participating in stuff should count as limiting risks. I think that you're just, if he's going to get hurt, you're basically preventing the inevitable at that point, and that's the problem I have. But we'll talk about that more later. The reason that made headlines was mainly because of the fact that Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, had come out and said right after Zach Taylor told media he's full go, he's going to participate in everything, that there are no kids' gloves, they're not going to baby him, they're not going to be overprotective of him, they're going to let him play. Not even 10 minutes after he addressed media, Mike Brown, the owner, tells the media that he will not play in any preseason games. So a very interesting start to the day and the very first day that they addressed media. So other NFL news that I found interesting, and I'm getting a little frustrated with this, Houston Texans are now willing to trade quarterback Deshaun Watson. And the headlines about all of this are making me nauseous. I have no clue why we're protecting Deshaun Watson. I know that whole, innocent till proven guilty. Give me a break. I'm not saying that he's guilty, but you also can't just ignore the noise surrounding Deshaun Watson. This isn't just one or two women. We're talking dozens. Like, why is that not being talked about? Why is Deshaun Watson not being questioned by, at least from fan perception? Is it because he plays in Houston and no one cares? I'm not saying that we have to smear his name or any means. I don't know why everyone gets all uncomfortable. Oh man, we need to wait till all the facts come out. I agree. Wait till the facts come out, but that doesn't mean that you play dumb until the facts come out. That doesn't mean that you ignore that there are a lot of damning reports surrounding him. I mean, it's no different than a few years ago with the Urban Meyer situation in Columbus. You're innocent until proven guilty. I get that, but at the same time, the noise itself is a story. And the noise for Deshaun Watson is a story. So the fact that the Houston Texans are now willing to trade the quarterback Deshaun Watson, and all the weird ESPN reporters are out there just tweeting it like it's nothing. Hey, guess what? Texans are interested in trading Deshaun Watson. Hey, guess what? That's all you have to say? ESPN, that's all you have to say? All NFL reporters? The only thing you have to say is, oh yeah, the Texans want to trade Deshaun Watson. Like, we're just going to pretend that there's nothing else going on with Deshaun Watson. And if you're out there listening and you're doing the whole, you got to wait till the facts come out. Well, then change the channel, because I'm not waiting till the facts come out. I'm not accusing him of being guilty by any means, but at the same time, until you're innocent until proven guilty, but maybe not. Because as long as where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think there's a lot of fire in Houston right now. I do not think it's okay to just continue to talk about Deshaun Watson, the football player, without ignoring Deshaun Watson, the real personal issues he's dealing with. Because if what the real personal issues that he is dealing with end up, making, that he does come out as being guilty, these NFL reporters are going to look pretty silly sitting here talking about, oh, gee, I wonder who he's going to play for. I was listening to the show before Jason Fitz show. They were talking about, oh, man, I think he makes sense in Miami. I think he makes sense here. I think his ass makes sense in Houston. And the only reason they're talking about trading him is because, yes, he was a little upset that they didn't hire the coach he wanted, but they're only talking about trading him because, well, he's a mess. They know he's probably not going to play there anymore. And Houston is trying to get out before a ruling is made on the future of Deshaun Watson. Because this is big legal issues that he's dealing with. This isn't, he was accused of taking a piece of bubble gum from a grocery store. Just sexual assault of at least 20 women or 20 plus or whatever the hell the final number has been. The number goes up every day. There was a point where Deshaun Watson and COVID cases were going up at about the same rate every single day. And yes, it sounds like I'm making a joke, but I'm making a joke of those who are not taking it serious. So don't accuse me of making light of the situation. I'm not making light of the situation. I'm trying to shed light on the situation that everyone seems to be ignoring. So I think it's wrong to talk about Deshaun Watson and try to sit there and say, well, I think that the Miami Dolphins make the most sense for Deshaun Watson because Deshaun Watson could throw the football real well, and they have guys that could catch the football real well. And if you take a guy that could throw real well with guys who could catch real well, I think that they could be a real well team. Shut up. I don't care about Deshaun Watson playing football again. Because if what he's being accused of actually comes out to be true, I think he's a horrible, disgusting human being that doesn't deserve to ever be brought up in football conversations again. Now, if this is all, if this is a shakedown and he ends up being innocent, then you know what? Whatever. Then we can have football conversations, because I keep getting that too. Well, Justin, you're going to feel really dumb if he gets proven innocent. No, I will not feel dumb at all, because the second he's proven innocent, then I'll be like, yeah, I think that the Dolphins make kind of a lot of sense for him. You know what I mean? This isn't hard. But the fact that the media is sitting here, look, this Sarah Barshop writes out this long article about the teams that make sense for Deshaun Watson. And about, oh man, the Houston Texans at the very least should get 3 first-rounders back. If you get anything back for a guy that could possibly spend a good chunk of his life in prison for what he's being accused of, more power to you. In fact, if the Houston Texans, who have been one of the biggest jokes of an organization in regards to letting talent go for basically nothing, whether it's been J.J. Watt, whether it's been DeAndre Hopkins, and maybe now Deshaun Watson, if you're going to sit here and say that organization who couldn't get anything back for DeAndre Hopkins or J.J. Watt is all of a sudden going to get 3 first-rounders for a guy that might face prison time in a year, you mean to tell me that that's a realistic conversation to have? Give me a break. I'm tired of the Deshaun Watson thing actually being a story that people are spending a lot of time on. I think it's absolutely disgusting what he's being accused of. Maybe it's a shakedown. Maybe it is. But until that's proven that it is a shakedown, for right now, I think you just got to stay away. The premise of this topic is not Deshaun Watson's guilty. The premise of this topic is until we know he's not guilty, I don't want to hear Deshaun Watson's name in a football conversation. I get nauseous every time I see his stupid name go across the ticker and say Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans have showed interest in trading the all-pro quarterback and blah, blah, blah. Trade him where? Stay in Houston. I don't think you're going to be allowed to leave Houston, buddy. I think you're going to have to stay in Houston until, all this gets ironed out. I don't know what you say. Josh Nichols. If you feel this way about Watson, how do you feel about Trevor Bauer? Josh, I'm going to assume that you're not coming at me in a aggressive way here. But if you are, the same way. I have no problem. Everyone's mad that baseball's not letting Trevor Bauer play. My thing is this. I do think it's messed up that if a woman can just accuse you of something without, if a woman accuses you of something that you didn't do, it does suck that in the long period of time that your name is efforted to be cleared, that you basically have your job taken from you, your reputation taken from you, and there are things that can't be repaired. You can't fix that. That's never going to change. And that is unfortunate. But at the end of the day, if I am a company and one of my main guys gets accused of something, the reputation of your company choosing to support the guy that could potentially be guilty of this, that's more damning than basically pushing that guy out of the picture. So by the Dodgers basically moving on from Bauer, or at least not really trying to fight Major League Baseball's decision to continue pushing back, his grievance or whatever the heck you want to call it, I don't have an issue with it. Because if the Dodgers come out and say, we believe him, he told us it's just, she's making it up, and then they end up letting him pitch and then come to find out that he's found guilty, the Dodgers look disgusting in that situation. So I have no problem with the Dodgers being safe with it. It is not okay. It sucks for the guys who do get accused of that, who are innocent. But for every man that is accused of something that is innocent, there's also how many guys that are not innocent that end up being guilty of what they're accused of. And then all that time that we spend defending them, then everyone doesn't say anything like, okay, we were wrong. I mean, I don't know why people are getting so defensive of this. I'm not saying that Trevor Bauer is guilty. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson is guilty. What I am saying is until we hear that they're not guilty, I don't want to hear about Trevor Bauer, the pitcher. I don't want to hear that, man, imagine how good the Dodgers would be if they had Trevor Bauer. Of course they would be better with him. He's the highest paid pitcher in baseball for a reason. Man, the Texans would be a lot better with Deshaun Watson. Of course they would. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Man, they could probably get 3 first-rounders for him. They probably could. If it's just Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, without the baggage, he's easily worth 3 first-rounders. And then some. But Deshaun Watson being accused of sexual misconduct by 20-plus women, and you still have idiot reporters releasing statements saying, I think he's worth 3 first-rounders. In what world do you live in that a guy that is being accused of rape by 20 women is worth 3 first-round picks? Do you realize how stupid you sound putting out articles like that? Even if he is innocent, until we are told he is innocent, you cannot sit there, continue to be tone deaf and release articles talking about, I wonder what his trade value is. Not okay with it. Josh Nichols said, same thing happened to Zeke, to Big Ben, Tyreek Mixon, numerous others. It will be forgotten about a couple of years from now if you are good players. And I don't think that makes it okay. Look, I look at the Cleveland Browns situation, and even the Bengals with Joe Mixon, Cleveland Browns with Kareem Hunt. I hate the fact that we sit here and we forget about what Joe Mixon has done, and just because, he's a really good football player. Kareem Hunt, man, he runs the football real well. So we're just going to forget about the fact that there's actual video evidence of him kicking a woman that's sitting on the ground. Like, we're just going to forget that. Again, not saying that Bauer is guilty, not saying that Deshaun Watson's guilty, but my goodness, we got to stop doing this thing and being tone deaf and having ESPN employees release articles talking about, here's the 3 best trade landing spots for Deshaun Watson. I think that the Dolphins would give up 3 first-rounders. Don't be dumb. Don't be tone deaf. Don't be tone deaf. Josh brings up, Kareem Hunt. That's what I just said. We'll move on from that. But yeah, when I came across that article, I was shocked that there are actual articles going out. Like, they're not in some of these articles, they're not even bringing up the fact that he's being accused by so many women for sexual misconduct. Like, that's what's crazy to me. I just don't understand. I don't support that. I can't get behind it whatsoever. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We appreciate you hanging out here this afternoon. If I upset people with that, I apologize. I'm not trying to make light of that situation by any means. I'm trying to shed light on the situation that we got to stop doing this thing in sports that just because they're good at what they do, that they get away with certain things. And Deshaun Watson, maybe he didn't do any of it. Maybe there are 25 women out there who all decided to lie all at one time. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe just randomly, 25 random women all decided to wake up one day and say, hey, I think I'm going to lie about him doing something to me so I can get some money. 25 women. I don't know. It's a slippery slope, and I risk sounding insensitive in this situation. But at the same time, someone could say, well, what happens if that ever happens to you? What if you get accused? You would want the same sympathy that those guys are. You're damn right I would. And they're not, I'm not saying that they shouldn't want that. But at the same time, I would really hope that if that ever, is happening, that people don't sit there and write stupid articles about, man, I wonder where he could end up. That's ridiculous to me. I'm not a fan of this whatsoever. I'm never, ever going to talk about Deshaun Watson on this show again in regards to where he could, until we hear that he's innocent. I will never waste another second of airtime on this show talking about three first rounders in exchange for Deshaun Watson. The dude may not be able to leave the state, and we're sitting here talking about, let's trade him for 3 first rounders. Give me a break. We got some Bengal stuff around the corner. Ohio State to the SEC. What? Don't roll your eyes at that. I'm pretty sure Texas fans thought the same thing, and yet that's where they're going. Some reports are circulating out there that the SEC is heavily interested in Ohio State and Michigan, as they should be, but will not go anywhere. Also read an article today. Jay Billis was talking about how the ACC should be getting in contact with the SEC and discussing a merger. Times are changing, that's for sure, and the college landscape may never look the same again. We'll discuss when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
The real estate market is always tough, but this market, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. When the average home stays on the market just 24 days and houses routinely go for more than the listing price, who you work with matters. Realtors have the expertise, local knowledge, and personal touch to give you a competitive advantage throughout the entire home buying process. And that's something an ordinary agent could never do. So make sure your agent is a realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
O'Reilly. Ready for your next road trip? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts to get everything you need to stay safe while traveling. Visibility on the road is so important and so easy to achieve. Get your windshield streak-free and crystal clear with Blue Magic Glass Cleaner. On sale now, 2 for $5. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly.
When it's a warm day and your car's AC is blowing hot air, you need some relief. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and talk to our professional parts people about AC Pro refrigerant recharge kits for your vehicle. Buy now and you'll get a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate. Keep cool this summer with AC Pro refrigerant at O'Reilly Auto Parts, in store or at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
School's out for summer, but if your business is running QuickBooks, you'll never get a break. Their manual processes, integration difficulties, and glitchy delays will leave you scrambling for the numbers you need. Failing to graduate to NetSuite will leave you stuck in summer school while your friends party. NetSuite by Oracle is the #1 cloud financial system, no matter how big your business grows. With visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more, NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. Automate your processes with NetSuite and close your books in no time. 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control since graduating to NetSuite. Special financing is back. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to graduate.
Head to netsuite.com/radar right now. netsuite.com/radar. netsuite.com/radar.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
You know, a few days ago while hanging out with my family, I noticed my father staring blankly at me. Something's not right, I thought. Is he having a stroke? Then I remembered to act fast, F-A-S-T, and did this quick test. F, face. I asked my father to smile. One side of his face drooped. A, arm. I asked him to lift both arms, no problem there. S, speech. I asked him to repeat a phrase. His speaking was slurred. T, time. I called 911 for immediate help. This way, he began receiving life-saving treatment in the ambulance. My father was out of the hospital in a few days, all because he made it to the hospital within an hour of his stroke. Practice recognizing the signs of a stroke so that you can act F-A-S-T, fast, to save a loved one.
This message is brought to you by the Ohio Department of Health's Coverdell Stroke Program.
You good? Anything you want to talk about? Here if you need me. Just want to check in. Appreciate you. Everyone feels less than okay sometimes. They may not want your advice, but they may welcome your ear. Be present is a simple but powerful way to be there for others, especially now when many are separated. Help teens and young adults find their power, conquer the difficult times, and get to a better tomorrow. Be present, Ohio.
Sponsored by the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation and aired in cooperation with the OAB and this station.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Attorney Joe Cordell. For many men, divorce brings a bewildering sense of loss. You feel adrift, isolated, like you're the only person in the world. But the good news is you're not alone. Cordell & Cordell is here to help. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has been there to guide men through all aspects of divorce, and we'll be there for you.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dayton area attorneys. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431.
When you're ready to buy something, the first thing you do is go online. But buying a home is different. You've got loan applications, pre-approvals, competing offers, the list goes on. That's where a Realtor comes in. Realtors have expertise and local knowledge to give you a competitive edge that a search bar just can't. And in today's market, an edge is what you need. So when you're ready to buy a home, the first thing to do is make sure you have an agent who's a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
There's something special about a sit-down family meal together. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, we couldn't agree more. That's why we're making it easy with our 8-piece family meal for only $22.99. Enjoy a classic family meal without the hassle. It includes 8 mixed pieces of Famous Recipe Chicken, 2 large sides, and 4 fluffy biscuits. At Lee's, making your family's meal special is what we do best. Get a home-style meal made easy with our 8-piece family meal for only $22.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Don't overpay for glasses. Get 2 pairs and a free exam for just $69.95. That's not just a better deal. It's America's best. Book your exam online today.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, welcome back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Had a lot of fun over the weekend in Columbus, Ohio at the Cavelli Center, bringing you the TBT on WING. Carmen's crew, the Ohio State Buckeyes alumni team, led behind Aaron Kraft, John Diebler, William Buford, Costa Koufis and company. Their TBT journey continues. In fact, they'll be back in action tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Immediately after the show, I'll be heading back to Columbus to bring you that game at 9 o'clock. Really bummed. I was hoping to be doing the show from Columbus tomorrow, to bring you the Red Scare game immediately after. But they got eliminated yesterday But I don't know how many of you listening were at that TBT game on Saturday, but my goodness, like if it was literally like watching a March Madness game in July. Me and Norm kept talking, Norm Greavy doing the games. They're like, man, it was like a March Madness in July. It was my Christmas in July because that's how much I really enjoyed that atmosphere in the sport of basketball. But man, what an atmosphere. They just ran into a really good team yesterday and they just made too many mistakes. But overall, it was a great time. Check out some of the radio highlights from the call from Saturday and yesterday. Again, a fantastic weekend of TBT action on WING. Unfortunately, the Flyers run prematurely ends. We still have Carmen's Crew Buckeye basketball coming your way for the remainder of the week. If they win tomorrow, they'll be playing at UD Arena this coming up weekend. But if you missed it, just check it out. About 60 seconds of highlights from the Dayton Flyers Red Scare in Columbus. CJ Walker lobs it up off the steal, finds Spearman in transition, and he flies in the air and gets the huge dunk. Jordan Seibert, 3 points. Make it 6 points. He buries the three from the top of the key.
Yeah, I've seen that jump shot many a times. That same shot to beat Boise State at the arena. Same play, same shot.
Sweetney has the ball stripped, kept alive, and that's what Trey Landers does. This time to CJ Walker. Nice spin move quickly. The crowd's going crazy. CJ Walker keeps it, lobs it up. Trevor Thompson with the slam in transition.
Nice. CJ with the lob to Trevor Thompson.
I love it. CJ Walker with the ball. Darrell Davis to his right. He passes it to Kendall Pollard to his left. Kendall Pollard right back to CJ Walker. Back to Kendall Pollard. Step back jumper. Is this how it ends? It is.
Oh!
Kendall Pollard.
One-on-one.
How about that? Look at the crowd. Look at the energy. Trey Landers mobs him with all his teammates.
It's the TBT on WING right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we'll have more TBT action on 1410 Wing AM tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Carmen's Crew, Ohio State Buckeyes alumni team. But yeah, shout out to Joey Gruden and Jeremiah Bonsu, two very popular walk-ons for the Dayton Flyers. Again, helping orchestrate that, put that together, and what a roster. It was really cool watching CJ Walker, the point guard for Ohio State this most recent season, run point. In fact, he was a huge difference maker, especially because of the fact that Kyle Davis was not able to play for the Flyers. But man, him and Trevor Thompson were huge on, the two Buckeyes, but nonetheless, it was fun getting to watch Seibert play again and those guys. And of course, you had your Mike Sells and your Pollards and those guys. Pollard was fun to watch play again. In fact, he hit the Elam ending game clinching shot to close it out on Saturday. But that was a lot of fun bringing you that from the Cavelli Center. And we're looking forward to doing that again next year. But it's not done. The TBT on WING, we still have a lot of Buckeye basketball coming your way. All right. So it's interesting because the world of college football, college athletics in general, we are reacting to all of this as changes in college football, and it is, but it's college athletics as a whole. And this whole thing going down with the Big 12 right now, and look, I think that the Big 12, this is a huge, massive hit for them. And I just don't understand what has led to this and how was it kept quiet. In a day and age where an athletic director cannot go to the restroom without some kind of breaking news about what it looked like coming out, it gets out. How can we go this long without any reports breaking of these conversations being held between Oklahoma, Texas, and the Big 12 and the SEC? How? Like, I mean, if you want to, this is one of the most shadier things I've seen in sports. Now, you're probably saying, well, how is it shady? It's good for sports. Is it good for sports? Because I think you're taking two premier brands, and Texas has done a good enough job of tarnishing their own brand over the last 10 years of really not being that as competitive as they should be. There's a lot of talk. In fact, if you think back over the last 10 years, folks, I think the most memorable Texas Longhorns moment was when Sam Ehlinger, after, I think it wasn't the Rose Bowl. I don't even know what bowl game it was. Whatever dumb, pointless bowl game that they were playing in, they won some pointless bowl game, and Sam Ehlinger had the nerve to do the "We're back." You remember that? That is the most relevant that Texas has ever been in the last 10 years. Maybe a little over that. They haven't been significantly relevant since Vince Young. And that was when I was in 6th grade, and I'm 31 years old. So if you think this helps Texas, if you think that being the second best team in the Big 12 is worse than being the 5th or 6th best team if you're lucky in the SEC, I really hope that money's worth it. because I do believe that going to the SEC is a money move. And that's the short-sighted view of this. Texas going to the SEC, sure, you make instant dollars. You will increase your revenue instantly off of that. But the reason that Texas has been able to afford to be above average for the last 10 plus years, 15 plus years, is mainly because of the fact that they have that rich, that brand history, right? And you always feel like they're in the mix. Now that's with them losing 1 to 2 games a year. But if you think that they're going, the money that they make by going to the SEC, think about all the branding money they're going to lose when they become a 3 to 4 loss team a year. And don't sit there and say, well, this will be better for them for recruiting. What are you talking about? You are the face of a conference right now. You should be the face of your own state. You can't even get the best players in your own state. Ohio State has Ewers coming next year. Like, that should have been your guys' quarterback. Texas's quarterback. How can Texas think that this move makes any sense? And yes, the money, that's what makes it make sense. But that can only make sense for so long before you are viewed as just another team in the SEC. Do you want to be just another team in the SEC, or do you want to be the face of a conference? To me, I feel like there's more financial benefits for Texas. I will say, Texas leaving one conference to go to another is a little surprising. I would have expected Texas to try to pull a Notre Dame and be more of a Notre Dame than be just another SEC team. If Texas is so miserable in the SEC or in the Big 12, just become an independent. It's worked for Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has proven that although there might be some adjustments you have to make being an independent, there's no setbacks. You don't have to win it. In fact, you get an extra off week because you don't have to win a conference championship. Sure, if it goes to a 12-team playoff, you may not ever get you might never get that first round bye. But that would be very rich of Texas to consider being worried about never getting that first round bye, considering they haven't won their conference in how long? They've never made the college football playoff in its existence. Folks, the college football playoff, the very first one back in 2014. Remember it? The Buckeyes won it all. Texas hasn't made it once. The most relevant that Texas has been since Vince Young is when Sam Ehlinger said, "We're back." And then they got smacked the next year. Oklahoma, I still think this is a silly move. You're the face of the Big 12. I think this is silly. And I know everyone says, well, Justin, it's not that silly. It's money. I get that it's money, but you're going to lose money on the back end whenever you lose a lot of local support, not a ton of local support, because Texas football is life there. And Oklahoma, they run that university. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, that passion for those schools, it will die down. It won't go away, but they will take a step back when it comes to passion for their university when they are losing 3 to 4 games a year. And they're not playing in Premier Bowl games. If you miss the playoffs, you're not going to play in a Premier Bowl game being a 3 and 4 loss team. Even if your 3 or 4 losses are against SEC teams. Because I'm telling you right now, Oklahoma is the face of the Big 12, and they look like one of the contenders until they get to the playoff and they get their doors blown off like they do every year. Texas can't even make the big dance. And now you want to go join the SEC. I think it's messed up. I don't like it. I think it's bad for college athletics. I think that anytime you devalue an entire conference, I think that is bad. You didn't just lose 2 teams to the SEC. You lost an entire conference. The Big 12 is so irrelevant now, it's not even funny. The Pac-12, even with Oregon, even with USC, is irrelevant because those programs lose 2 to 3 games a year. We see how little value we put in those programs in that conference now because the faces of that conference, they lose 2 to 3 games a year. So you lose Texas and Oklahoma, who's going to go lose 2 to 3, 4 games a year in the SEC, and then what's left? Baylor? Baylor's going to be the face of your conference. Good luck with that. Iowa State? Kansas? I mean, this move didn't just weaken. This move did not just weaken Oklahoma and Texas football. By the way, I don't believe anybody when they say it helps. It helps those two. It helps them financially, but eventually that kind of wears off because What has it done for Texas A&M? Now, they're solid in the SEC, but they have Jimbo Fisher. But what? They haven't made the playoff. And if you're telling me that the bar in the SEC is, yeah, well, Texas A&M is pretty good because they almost make the playoffs. Yeah, well, Texas seems to have that down pat already in the Big 12. So if they almost make the playoffs in the Big 12, going to the SEC means you're almost going to be paired with some crap American team in the first bowl game of the year in the Tampon 500 Bowl. I mean, like, give me a break. This is not good for Texas. It's not good for Oklahoma. It's not good for the Big 12. The Big 12 is now a joke. The Pac-12 is irrelevant. The Big 10 is a joke outside of Ohio State. And then there's the ACC, who, if it wasn't for Dabo Swinney, that would be another joke of a conference as well. The SEC, everyone's like, man, if they get Ohio State, they're going to be a super conference. They were a super conference before Texas and Oklahoma got there. People spend so much time trying to devalue the SEC. Oh, they're overrated. They're not as good as people think. It's the SEC bias. That's everyone's lazy approach to, yeah, I just don't want to admit that they're better. We make excuses for the Big Ten. Penn State, that's such a great program. They have a history of winning. Yeah, well, they win. They win a lot of games. They just don't win the ones that matter. Michigan, they win a lot of games. They don't win the ones that matter. Michigan State, they're the only other Big Ten team to make the college football playoff other than Ohio State, and their one and only appearance, they got shut out. So please tell me, where's this rich history in the Big Ten? Because I don't care about the rich history of the Big Ten because it doesn't win you games now. People are so enamored with the past. The past means nothing. The past doesn't win you football games, obviously. And by the way, here's an example. If you think that by losing 3 to 4 games a year will not tarnish the brand of Texas or Oklahoma, I know that their brand is stronger than what the U was, but the U they had a reputation of being an untouchable program for a decent amount of time, right? The U comes in, whether on the road or you go play there, you don't look at the U as the U anymore. Because they lose 3 to 4 games a year and they're just When you play Miami, it's just like playing Texas. It's just like playing Michigan. It's the whole, remember back when they were good? Remember when they used to be good? Remember when they weren't just a little above average? Remember back when they would win a lot of games? Yeah, that's Texas now before going to the SEC. Now you're going to be an even bigger joke in the SEC. This isn't good. I don't like it. And I hope Ohio State stays in the Big Ten. And people out there, don't be ignorant. Don't be delusional. Don't be naive. Because if you think that there is not at least some consideration by Ohio State to possibly entertain the idea of doing this, you're wrong. Oh, well, they make a lot of money in the Big Ten. They'll make a lot of money in the SEC too. Yeah, but there's no point in leaving the Big Ten if they can make the same amount of money, if they can go to the SEC. Right now, that's where all the cool kids are going. And you could try to be the one cool kid that tries to carve your own path, but then you risk being left off the boat when there's no more lifeboats left. And if you're Ohio State, you got to be able to take care of your investment and take care of your program. And you have to ask yourself, what we want is the Big Ten to remain relevant and mean something. But even with Ohio State, that's not elevating Penn State or Michigan anymore. Urban Meyer elevated the Big Ten, and then it seemed to be like a ceiling in the Big Ten where teams stopped getting better. It felt like for a while that Urban Meyer had totally not just lifted up Ohio State, but that the entire Big Ten had elevated. That's not the case anymore. Michigan State's worse than when Urban Meyer came in to the conference with. Penn State is worse than when Urban Meyer came into the conference with. Michigan is worse than when Urban Meyer came into the Big Ten. Oh, Purdue? Oh, yeah, they beat Ohio State that one time, and then they're living off of that. Hell, Brom got a nice little payday because they beat Ohio State. Iowa? Give me a break. They're good once every 4 years because that one, every time they have a recruiting class, they're good once every 4 years because that recruiting class has a bunch of seniors every 4th year. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine. So I'll take your calls. 457-9464. Head to Facebook, head to YouTube. Jump on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page or the ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. You heard what I have to say about this. I'm curious what you have to say about it. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Hour 3, coming up next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Blackberry Smoke, the Spirit of the South Tour, a celebration of Southern rock and roll. August 1st at Rose Music Center at the Heights, with special guests Almond Betts Band and the Wild Feathers, plus a nightly all-star finale performing music of the Allman Brothers Band and others, and featuring surprise guests at each show. All ticket holders receive free admission to the Allman Brothers Band Big House Museum experience on site. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome back. Hour 3, Justin Kinner hanging out with you here on a Monday. So, for the longest time here at 1410 Wing AM, the phone number to call in has always been 457-9464. We do have a new call-in number. It's 937-518-1410. Now, it's going to take time for everyone to memorize that number the way everyone had previously memorized 1410, 457-9464. So just remember 518-1410. 518-1410. 518-1410. So we now have way more phone lines than we have had in the last year. We ran a stretch without phone lines, and we had one, and then that stopped working, and it's been a complete mess. But we have it all figured out and ironed out. 518-1410 is the new number to call and be a part of the conversation. So we do have multiple lines. If you called the old one and it's busy, that is why. I will continue to be making sure we're pounding this into your head that it is 518-1410. So give us a call, 518-1410, and when you call, you will begin hearing the show in the background. Whenever we answer it, you will hear the show in the background, and then I will bring you on whenever you're up. So just keep that in mind. But we were talking about all of this mess going on in college athletics when it comes to the Big 12 losing Oklahoma and losing Texas to the SEC. My thing is this, what I feel like is happening is, and we've had this conversation in the past about, man, we hear all the time about how you're going to see the merging of all of these Power 5 programs to form their own conference and to form their own league, and they will separate themselves from the NCAA. Because technically, there's all these restrictions on the SEC and the Big Ten, and there's all these restrictions on these Power 5 conferences, but yet anytime that there comes time where you need real leadership, the conference or the entity that does nothing but penalizes you, the entity that does nothing but pull scholarships from you and takes wins from you and takes banners down and championships away and Heisman trophies away, the entity that does all of those things is the NCAA. And my big thing is I have no clue how we sit here and take that from them when honestly, the teams and the programs and the conferences have more power than they do. When COVID hit, the entity that acts like they have all the power in the world, the entity that punishes you the second that they have the opportunity to because you might mess with their bottom dollar, the entity that is supposed to be the ruling body was nowhere to be found. They basically threw them on an island and said, you know what? We're not going to make. Mark Emmert is a lazy piece who does nothing except just collect millions and millions of dollars a year. He's going to sit back and make millions of dollars while everyone else has to make the tough decisions. While every conference commissioner has to make the tough decisions on whether to play during a pandemic or not play during a pandemic. You know, if you look at Kevin Warren was basically thrown out to the wolves because of Mark Emmert not having a backbone, because of Mark Emmert not having any leadership qualities whatsoever, delegating the tough decisions to them. But man, if anyone under the Kevin Warren umbrella in the Big Ten was to cheat or was to offer unsanctioned or, any kind of, unapproved benefits to players, now Mark Emmert's going to come to the front of the line and say, hey, I'm going to decide this one. I'm going to make the decision on this one. So I think what these conferences are figuring out is that we have more power than they do. That all the money that the NCAA makes, and these schools make a lot of money, but they could be making way more money if they didn't have to basically be the bottom half of the pyramid scheme that is the NCAA. Because what the NCAA has done is you have Mark Emmert at the top, and then he has his cronies beneath them. And then he has those guys go out and they create these conferences, and these conferences then have to go out and they have to add these teams underneath them. And then these teams have to go get all these players to come play for them for free. And then the money that the coaches and athletic directors make on top and is then funneled up. And that money keeps getting funneled up and funneled up and funneled up until it gets to Mark Emmert. And it's the biggest pyramid scheme out there. And I think the conferences are starting to catch on to that. But what we also learned during COVID is that when you look at Sankey and you look at Kevin Warren and you look at Bowlesby and you look at all of the different commissioners for these conferences, there was an opportunity for all of them to come together and work together and make decisions together and to get through COVID together. And instead, it became Bowlesby versus Sankey versus Kevin Warren versus the Pac-12 versus the American Conference versus the MAC versus Conference USA versus everybody. So I was like, you know what? COVID proved to me that we will never see those schools branch off to form their own conference because these conferences, these commissioners will never give up an inch of power because they're just as power hungry as Mark Emmert and everybody in the NCAA. But then while they are playing checkers, Sankey and the SEC is playing chess. Sankey is brilliant. I never even thought of this being a scenario, and it's all playing out in front of us, and it's making a ton of sense. To this day, it makes zero sense to me. Don't tell me money. Yes, money is the obvious reason why Texas and Oklahoma are jumping ship to the SEC. But yes, money is what you're going to get up front with the TV deal for going to the SEC. But what about when you lose money from boosters and from other people around your university, because now you're a 3 to 4 loss team a year? Now recruiting takes a hit, because although you might be an SEC school, you're still a program that's losing 4 to 5 games a year. And don't say, yeah, well, they'll get better recruits going to the SEC. Do you think that the brand of Texas needs the SEC to get players to go there? No. The same issues that kept players from going to Texas are the same issues that'll keep those same players from going to Texas and the SEC. And the same thing at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's approach to defense is trash. Oh, well, in the SEC, they value defense, so they'll get better defensive players. Well, then what was stopping Oklahoma from getting defensive players to begin with? So here's what I think is happening. I think Sankey is slowly, right now, reaching out to all the powers that be, the biggest schools out there, and saying, come join the SEC. Come join the SEC. For a brief moment of time, we are going to be what's called the Super Conference under the NCAA umbrella. But the second we get all of our soldiers at play, we're going to war. The second we get our Texas and our Oklahoma, we're one step closer to going to war. The second we get our Ohio State and our Michigan and Penn State from the Big Ten, we're ready to go to war. The second that we go to the Pac-12 and we pluck Oregon and we pluck USC, now we're ready to go to war. Because once you go out there and you get every premier brand out there, now the SEC, under one governing body, under one commissioner, under one ruler, now it becomes Sankey against Emmert. And now it becomes the SEC versus the NCAA. And let me rephrase that. It now becomes the NCAA against the SEC. Because the SEC will rule college athletics more than it already has. They will be the deciding factor. The Big Ten and Kevin Warren, they thought that they were the big dog last year. Kevin Warren thought that if I come out and I say no football during a global pandemic, that everyone would say, yeah, all right, safety first. We got to think of the kids. Everyone thought, including Kevin Warren, that he thought everyone would respect his leadership ability, making the tough decision to not play. He thought that everyone would follow suit. And then the SEC and Sankey said, nah, we're good. We're going to start on time. We're going to kick off on time. We're going to play non-conference games. We're going to play a full schedule. We're going to allow fans. We're going to say 30% capacity, but we're really going to allow 70% of our stadiums to be full. And then guess what happened? Everybody followed. Kevin Warren and the Big Ten didn't want to play, remember? They played because the SEC played. But if Sankey would have been the one, like I'm telling you right now, if the roles were reversed, if the SEC had come out and said, we're not going to play during COVID, the Big Ten come out and said, we're going to play during COVID, Kevin Warren and the Big Ten would have looked like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they're being so reckless. They go as the SEC goes. The SEC, I think, is playing a bigger game here. This isn't about forming a super conference under the NCAA umbrella. This is about getting the biggest brands in college athletics under one umbrella, and then looking at Mark Emmert, giving him the middle finger, and then going to form their own league that does not have to worry about wins being taken away, banners being taken away, championships being taken away, Heisman trophies being taken away, coaching victories being voided, and yada, yada, yada. Tattoo Gate will no longer exist in the NCAA and the SEC's new league. Am I onto something? Is this some crazy delusional take? Think about it. It doesn't make any sense for Texas to go to the SEC. Now you could say, well, it's a good conference. That's good for them to go to. Texas is bigger than the Big 12. Maybe not from a competitive standpoint, because I still think that program is very overrated. But they're not fiscally overrated. They're not financially overrated. They are Notre Dame. They are exactly like Notre Dame. They have their own network, the Longhorn Network. You have the Big 12 network. You have the Big 10 network. Hell, as good as Ohio State is, folks, they don't have the Buckeye Network. Texas has the Longhorn Network. Texas does not need the SEC. They could be an independent. If they truly were not happy with the Big 12, they could just be independent. But they're choosing to go from one conference to the next and having to do a revenue share and having to lose some money technically while making money under the deal as a whole, Because if they actually were doing this to better their situation, they would go independent before they would go to the SEC. Well, they're making a lot of money in the SEC. They would make more money as an independent. Just like Notre Dame is making more money as an independent. The only reason Texas is doing this is because they see the bigger picture. Being an independent in the NCAA, yeah, that sucks. Being an SEC team that eventually will be the new league without an NCAA affiliation, that's where this is headed. Am I on to something? I'm curious your thoughts. That's me. 457-9464. That number will get you in. However, if someone is on hold, you will not be able to get through. The number you have to call is 518-1410. Mr. Know-It-All, thank you for holding, sir. Am I on to something or am I just high?
You know what, Justin, you made me mad because when I called, I told you I wanted to get in on this, and you had already did your first take. You left me on hold and did your second take, and your second take is exactly what I was calling for.
Well, they don't just call you Mr. Know-It-All. They call me Mr. Know-It-All. They call you Mr. Know-It-All too.
No, what it is you have been a student in Mr. Know-It-All's classroom.
You're right. My bad. That's what it was.
But on time, you have perfect attendance. You always do your homework. You come to class on time and you listen to my lectures. And Justin, I want to tell you are student of the week for that. That is exactly what it is. And it don't take rocket science to figure it out because this rumbling started a couple of years ago. And all it is it's not, like you said, Texas A&M went to the SEC because they wanted to be the only school in Texas in the SEC because that helped their recruiting.
Yep.
But this is a bigger picture. This is all about, like you said, SEC is reaching out to all of the blue bloods first. They're reaching out to your Ohio State, your Michigans, your Texases, your Oklahomas. Hey, they probably already even reached out to your USCs and UCLAs. And, of course, they reached out to the greatest football school of all time, Notre Dame. Now, but like I said, it's just they're taking steps. They have to take gradual steps to this. And the fault of it all is, like you said, is the NCAA themselves. Because they come lay down the hammer on some things and do absolutely nothing on other things. And that's where all this comes to fruition is that you have to understand, you pay to be in the NCAA. These schools are shelling out millions of dollars to be member schools of the NCAA. That's what the term is, member school.
Yep.
So it's just like anything else. So you mean to tell me back when Reggie Bush had his little thing, he had his Heisman taken, and they lost scholarships to USC paid for NCAA to come down and take their scholarships. That's kind of oxymoronic, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Why am I paying you to punish me?
That's like paying the defendant's. That's like paying the defendant's attorney. That's like paying the opposition's attorney to come at you. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're right.
Yeah. And the thing is, so guess what? If we're this big, you know what? If we're the schools that's really generating your revenue, we can take the revenue that we're generating for you and keep it divided amongst ourselves and make our own decisions, come up with our own laws, bylaws, and even punishments. So why should and like I said, I don't feel sorry for the NCAA because it's exactly what you said. They did nothing when it came to COVID and put it back on the member schools. Well, that's what we pay you to make these decisions. That's what we pay you for. And that's the whole premise. Like I said, I had more, but you kind of hit on all the points. I mean, it is exactly, we're not talking next year. What's going to happen is, maybe year after next or whatever, Texas Tech are going to be in the SEC. Then it's going to probably be, it's going to be a battle between Ohio State and Michigan. Don't be surprised if them two are talking. Even though they're arch rivals, they're talking.
Yeah, there's reports out there that those two have been contacted. Now, again, there's so many reports out there that I honestly don't know what to put stock into or not. But look, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I don't think it's far-fetched. Keep in mind, Mr. Know-It-All, Ohio State fans are arrogant, and they think that they're too good for everything. And I promise you, when I say this, that the SEC is talking to Ohio State, they are sitting here rolling their eyes saying how stupid that is. But for every dumb Buckeye fan out there that's saying that right now, there was equally as many dumb Texas fans out there saying the same thing, and yet their asses are headed to the SEC. So that's where I'm at. I don't think right now everything that we used to think would never happen, expect the unexpected, because things are it's about to be a bumpy ride. Let's just put it that way.
Hey, Justin, one more point. And the thing is, you're absolutely right. But the thing is, the SEC is not contacting Ohio State alone. No, they're contacting Ohio State and Michigan on a three-way call.
Yeah, it's package deals like Texas and Oklahoma. There's a reason it wasn't Baylor and Oklahoma. Baylor's been better than Texas over the last 10 years. It was those two, the premier brands.
Yep. That's my point. I want to listen to what the others call it, but believe you me, it is Ohio State and Michigan on the phone on a three-way call saying, listen, y'all ain't got to come now, but I'm just telling you, in about 3 years, we can make this happen. We can get the out of the way totally, and we can just have power football where or just power conference where we govern all our sports. We govern it ourselves. And that just puts more money in the president and the ADs. If they're governing, if they're making the rules themselves instead of having commissioners, they're going to have these presidents really have a governing body that they make the rules that the NCAA should have been doing. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Hey, Mr. Know-It-All, last thing. You know what this is, right? This is the athletic version of Noah's Ark. And right now, the SEC is trying to get everyone on the boat because they're warning them a storm's coming. Well, do you want to be on the boat or do you want to drown? And that's basically what this is coming down. How about that analogy? Do I get another A+? Is that extra credit?
Hey, listen, I'm going to give you an A- only because it should have come from me, and then you should have regurgitated. All right, class is out of section. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Take care. Great hearing from you. You can tell college football season's and football season in general is almost here when you hear from Mr. Know-It-All. Let's try this again. The new number to call into the show is 518-1410. Caller, what's up? How are you? You got to tell me who this is. Yo, you there? Yeah, we need Kevin back. Kevin, I hope you're enjoying your vacation and all, but seriously, we need to get you back in here. I'm just throwing that out there. All right, we got a couple other of you on hold. I didn't realize that we had just gone about 20 minutes, 25 minutes without taking a breather. But that's what this is, folks. This isn't the SEC trying to be a super conference. The SEC is trying to separate itself from the NCAA. And the SEC knows, hey, with Alabama and LSU and Auburn and Florida, we are the best conference in college football, in college athletics. But we are not good enough to be our own brand outside of the NCAA. But if we add Texas and we add Oklahoma and we add Ohio State and Michigan and we get USC and we get Oregon, that right there, we don't need the NCAA anymore, and we will go hang out over here. We will start our own cool kids club. And then it really does, in all seriousness, become very similar to Noah's Ark, where right now Greg Sankey is saying, all right, we're taking two of each power team, and we're getting on this big, gigantic boat. There is a gigantic storm and flood coming. And those of you who believe me will prosper. And those of you who laugh and think this is a joke, well, good luck holding on to the door that's floating down the river, because that's exactly what's happening here. Get on. Follow suit. I don't like the idea of this. I hate it. But that's exactly what's going on. Because if you start listing the reasons for why it makes sense for Texas to go to the SEC, and then you list all the reasons why it doesn't make sense, the list of it doesn't make sense totally outweighs the list of those that do. Good for the SEC, because don't blame Texas and Oklahoma. If Ohio State does this, do not get mad at the Buckeyes. Get mad at the Big Ten. Kevin Warren had just as many opportunities to do this as Sankey did. Just saying. Just saying. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. 518-1410. 518-1410. That's the number to call in. That's the new call-in number for the Justin Kinner Show and 1410 ESPN Radio. It used to be 457-9464. That number still works, but that number will be gone here in the near future. So right now we are transitioning everyone to the new number, 518-1410. Mr. Know-It-All was in favor of my take. He said it was his take. We had the same take. This isn't the SEC trying to take over the NCAA. This is the SEC trying to leave the NCAA. The SEC cannot leave the NCAA with what they have now. They could dominate the NCAA with what they have now, but they can't leave the NCAA with what they have now. But if they have Texas and Oklahoma, and they have Ohio State and Michigan, and they have Oregon and USC, the NCAA has nothing. If the best thing of the Pac-12 is Oregon State, if the best thing of the Big Ten is Penn State, that's not the worst thing, but no one's gearing up for Penn State football around the globe every year. All right, if the Big 12 has Oklahoma State, like that, those are the premier brands that are going to be running college football in the NCAA umbrella. Really? Trust me, the SEC knows what they're doing. This is the first of many big moves down the stretch. The SEC is playing chess, and all of you morons over here are thinking they're playing checkers. I don't mean to call you morons. I got really caught up in the moment there. I'll say sorry for that, but you know what I'm saying. But the Buckeye fans, don't fall into that trap of thinking that Ohio State's too good to leave the Big Ten. The Ohio State Buckeyes are too good for the Big Ten to begin with. Do I want to see them join the SEC? Heck no. But I'm telling you, if they can get programs like Texas and Oklahoma to jump ship, if Ohio State jumps ship, I promise you that's exactly what's going on. The SEC will dominate and leave the NCAA, and it'll be their own conference. We'll be back in a moment. 518-1410, that's the number. Give us a call. 518-1410.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear, sunny, and muggy, a high near 92. Tonight will be mainly clear, a low near 65. And tomorrow will be mainly clear, sunny, and muggy, a high near 92. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Great values are happening now during Lowe's Pro Summer Savings. Stop by the Pro Desk and get an extra 5% off volume savings orders over $1,500. Plus, look for limited time values across the store, including tools, appliances, and other pro essentials to help you get the job done right. Shop today at Lowe's, the new home for pros. Discount on eligible product only and reflected in quote. Terms and exclusions apply. See Pro Desk in store for details. Now through July 30th. U.S. only.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Fire threatens everything in its path. When it threatens our nation and our communities, we respond. We bring the fight to the front line. The Army National Guard stands ready to face the dangers of Mother Nature and protect our homes and our neighbors. We will always be there when your community needs us the most. Discover more about all the ways you can serve part-time in your community by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
There's something special about a sit-down family meal together. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, we couldn't agree more. That's why we're making it easy with our 8-piece family meal for only $22.99. Enjoy a classic family meal without the hassle. It includes 8 mixed pieces of Famous Recipe Chicken, 2 large sides, and 4 fluffy biscuits. At Lee's, making your family's meal special is what we do best. Get a home-style meal made easy with our 8-piece family meal for only $22.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Billy Idol, the true rebel returns. Billy Idol, live 2021, featuring original guitarist Steve Stevens. August 3rd, Rose Music Center at the Heights. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the Rose Music Center box office. Billy Idol, live 2021. Be there.
Hey there, it's CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger with an inside track on a company that could save your family over $800 a year on a basic service everyone needs, H2O Wireless. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, H2O Wireless gives you the exact same coverage as one of those, but at half the price. That's right, H2O Wireless uses the same network, same towers. You can even keep your phone and number because switching is as easy as swapping a SIM card. Right now, get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 a month. And if you want a new phone, H2O Wireless has huge savings on the latest iPhones and Androids. Here's what you need to do. Pick up your phone and dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. When you do, you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O, and your family could start saving over $800 a year today.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner with you here on a Monday. Hope you guys had a great weekend. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We got Reds baseball tonight. Reds and Cubs. The Reds took 2 of 3 from the St. Louis Cardinals over the weekend at Great American Ballpark. And right now, currently, the Cincinnati Reds sit in second place in the NL Central. They trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 6.5 games. Man, that's so difficult to try to digest whenever you think about the fact that they trailed the Brewers by 4 games and they got swept by the Brewers coming right out of the break. And the Reds, well, they didn't fare so hot against the Mets, but they took care of business, of course, against the Cardinals, and that's what they needed to do. They start a series with the Cubs coming up later on tonight. They do have Wade Miley on the mound. Wade Miley, the lefty, has actually been the Reds' best pitcher, the most consistent pitcher all season. I'm confident that the Reds get a win tonight. I hope I did not just jinx that, but the Reds 51-48, 6.5 games back behind the Brewers. The Brewers are 5-5 in their last 10. The Reds are 4-6 in their last 10, and the only team that has a winning record in their last 10 has been the Cardinals. They're 6-4, and the Reds just took 2 of 3 from the Cardinals at GABP. The Chicago Cubs are 49-51. They are 9 games back in the division, and it sounds like they're about to just unload every major piece on their roster. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Cubs look like a week from now, as the Major League Baseball trade deadline is this Friday at 4 o'clock. What will the Reds roster look like come Friday? Are they going to move on from some names like a potential Luis Castillo? Have we seen the last of Luis Castillo? What about Eugenio Suarez? His struggles. I don't know what you would get in return, but of course the Reds are always looking to move pieces if it means getting some cash considerations or some prospects to replenish the farm system. You know, there's a lot of names. You can't move on from Moustakas, who's on the IL. You're definitely not going to move on from Castellanos, at least I wouldn't think, but he's on the IL too, so you couldn't move on from him. There's a lot of question marks for this Reds team. My thing is this: to be sellers at the deadline, like, I don't even know if the Reds will be sellers at the deadline. I think that they might kind of move on from dead space guys, but like, I don't think that they're going to move any big names. I don't think we're going to bid farewell to Sonny Gray or Luis Castillo or Eugenio Suarez. I don't think we're going to say goodbye to any of those guys. Maybe Aquino, maybe, but I do think there's a better chance of the Reds not moving anybody and not adding anybody. And what I mean by that is we keep thinking that the only outcome of the trade deadline on Friday is we bring in a ton of talent and we ship out a bunch of talent. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we keep envisioning happening. And what I think is going to happen is we are so caught up in all of this. There's a good chance that the Castellinis do nothing. There's a good chance that they don't move on from anybody on this roster. For one, there's nobody that you can move and get a decent return. Like, I've never believed that because there's a trade deadline that you have to move guys. You can always move guys in the offseason if you want. Now, if there's guys that contracts are up at the end of the year and you want to at least get something, but sometimes the guys that are on the roster that's above 500 at the moment, that has you in contention at the moment, I say don't move on from them. Give yourself a fighting chance down the stretch, even if you're not going to try and bring them back next year. But I will say that there's a better likelihood of that happening than the Reds adding somebody. I think that for all of you out there who are holding your breath, that they're going to get a Trevor Story, or that they're going to get some major bullpen arms, that they go and get, Aroldis Chapman, that they somehow get Iglesias back, or that they somehow get some strong bullpen arms out there. I think that's very unlikely. I think that what's more likely to happen is that the Reds just don't do anything. And I think that that's the ultimate mixed message right there. The ultimate mixed message to me is not doing anything at the deadline as far as trading anybody, but not acquiring anybody either. So you didn't think enough of your team to add pieces to help them out down the stretch, but you also didn't do anything to help your franchise long-term by moving anybody to get something in return. But keep in mind, they don't have anything worth of value to get anything significant back. And that's my whole point. You're not moving on from Jesse Winker. You're not moving on from Jonathan India. You can't, the guys that you probably could get something for, you can't move because they're on the IL. Even if you wanted to move Castellanos, you couldn't get anything for him right now. Moustakas, you couldn't get anything for him right now. Nick Senzel, who has been a part of every trade demand from any team out there that the Reds have talked to for the past 2 years, and the Reds have stubbornly held on to him. And I'm telling you what, he has spent more time on the IL than he has on any rumor list out there, and he's on a lot of rumored lists. The Reds have been stubborn with their talent. But they should not move on from India. They should not move on from Luis Castillo, who's going to be eligible to be paid big here in 2 years. That means you get another year and a half of this dude. You don't need to do anything with him right now. I just get tired of, we always think teams have to do something. If the Reds truly believe that it is not worth giving up prospects to go get a big name that they're not even going to be able to afford to extend anyways, even if you get a Chapman, you're not winning a World Series with this group. So you got to think, like, from a fan's perspective, we live in the now. From a business perspective, it's all about big picture. So if the Reds go get an Aroldis Chapman, or if they go get an Iglesias, or if they go get a big bullpen arm, are they going to pay them? Probably not, because they didn't pay the good bullpen arms they had last year. So why give up prospects or pieces on the roster now to go get big name arms that you're just going to let go at the end of the year anyways? And sure, they may help you get to the playoffs, but you're not going to probably win that playoff series to begin with. So the big question I have is yes, I know we're going to rip the ownership no matter what happens, but I just have to know, what do you really want? Because if ownership gives up the farm to go get a couple bullpen arms, and the Reds, let's say, miraculously win the division by a game and a half, and then they make the playoffs and they win one game and get beat in the first round, are you going to be happy and say, man, we have great ownership? Or are you going to say, typical ownership still didn't do enough? Because we as fans do what I hate all fans doing, and that we move that goalpost constantly. Right now, we don't have a bullpen and we don't have a shortstop. The Castellinis will provide you with the shortstop and they'll provide you with the bullpen. And then we will move that goalpost back and say, well, those are better bullpen arms. He's a better option at shortstop, but he's still not an all-star shortstop. And we still don't have we're not a top 10 bullpen. The ownership still hasn't done enough. So then the ownership will go get you a top 10 bullpen and an all-star shortstop. And then there'll be a hole in right field that you'll move the goalpost back again and say, yeah, well, ownership still isn't getting us this. There is no such thing as a team that has an all-star left fielder, center fielder, right fielder. There is no such thing as a team that has all-stars in the outfield, all-stars in the middle infield, an all-star catcher, and 5 Cy Young caliber pitchers in the rotation, and 6 shutdown arms in the bullpen. There is always going to be a hole that keeps the Reds from being the team. We're always going to move the goalposts back. And I think that at some point, fans have to be realistic with what actual opportunities are out there, and are those opportunities going to really propel the Reds to a World Series? The answer to that is no. There is not a move that the Reds can make at the deadline to win a World Series. I promise you that much. I do believe that there are moves they can make at the deadline this Friday to give them a chance to win the division, but there's not a move out there that I can be convinced that they would win a playoff series. Not if the Reds have to run into the Dodgers. Not if the Reds have to play the Padres or the Giants. Because if the Dodgers end up being a wild card team that wins the 1-game wild card, and then they have to go play 7 with Cincinnati, I, even as a Reds fan, am picking the Dodgers. And the reason I say the Dodgers is because the NL West is loaded. The NL West has the Giants, the Padres, and the Dodgers. And I just saw today that right now that the Dodgers and the Padres are going after some major arms in the rotation. Like, they're not wasting any time. So my thing is this, is that there is going to be a team, there's going to be a 100-win team that is in the wild card, because that's how stacked the NL West is. And that 100-win team is going to win their 1-game wild card and then is going to play Cincinnati. So if the Castellinis sit on their hands and don't pull the trigger on a deal this Friday, folks, it's not because they're bad owners. It's because they're actually making the right decision. I'm not saying I want them to do nothing, but I also am I'm pretty up to date on what the options are, and there's not a whole lot of options that make sense. Improve the bullpen, win the bad. You're going to improve your bullpen enough to win your bad division, and then maybe win 1 playoff game in a 7-game series against a 100-win Dodger team. I'm not trying to disappoint you all. I'm just saying to at least look at the landscape and understand what you truly want from this Reds team, because I promise you, they can provide you bullpen help. And then when the Reds lose in the postseason because the starting pitching is bad, then you will be mad because the Reds didn't try to keep Trevor Bauer. Then you'll be mad because the Reds didn't try to go get another good starting arm, in the offseason. We will always move the goalpost back and back and back. I mean, it'll be like Mike Berman, back. I mean, we'll just keep moving it back because we'll never be happy. There you go. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. I have the Reds lineup coming up for you on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hi, Pete Kasuja here to tell you that if you're looking for the very best selection of your favorite garden plants, we grow over 125 varieties of tomatoes, peppers, cabbage, broccoli, cucumbers, cantaloupe, and eggplants. And if you haven't tried our famous Neighbor Beater tomato and pepper plants, come out and pick up a few and enjoy the best taste you ever had from your garden. They taste so good you'll wish you planted more. And remember, Neighbor Beater garden plants are sold only at our garden center at 1309 Brant Pike. So get out that shovel and start digging. It's time for gardens, bedding plants, rose bushes, vines, ground cover, shade trees and shrubs, bird baths and fountains, and so much more. So join the Green Revolution and come out to see us at 1309 Brant Pike, where we're open 7 days.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
With round-the-clock protection at a great price, your Progressive policy works the way it's supposed to, unlike this unenthusiastic hype man.
Okay, everybody, let's make some noise. Put your hands up. Or not. It's your call. Here we go now. Here we go.
Switch to Progressive today.
It is electric in here.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager, Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need service, we're here. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 6 to 8, and Saturdays from 7 to 5. We proudly offer a state-of-the-art facility with factory-trained technicians, clean waiting room, and service department. Loaner cars are available during service, and free alignment checks with any service. Be sure to stop in and ask for our $39.95 oil change special. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, State Route 35, east of 675, between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Ad paid for by CompleteCar.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to the COVID crisis, we are announcing a low-cost extended service plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay nothing for auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay nothing for auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-549-1980 now. Drivers who are covered by this auto protection will not have to pay for a covered repair bill again. This auto coverage is at an all-time low, much lower than what dealerships are charging. Additionally, drivers who activate this auto coverage today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and free rental car at no additional cost. Call for your free quick quote today. 800-549-1985. 800-549-1985. What do you have to lose? Again, 800-549-1985.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, we welcome you back. Reds baseball coming up later on tonight, 8:10 your first pitch, 8:05 your first pitch, and it'll be a 7:35 pregame right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 Wing AM. All right, your starting lineup for your Cincinnati Reds versus the Cubs game tonight. We'll start with the Cincinnati Reds. Leading off, Jonathan India. He'll get the start at second base. In left field, batting second, All-Star Jesse Winker. Aristides Aquino will start in right field and bat third. Batting in the cleanup spot, the power hitter, Joey Votto. He'll get the start at first base. At third base and batting fifth is Eugenio Suarez. In center field and batting sixth is Tyler Naquin. Batting seventh and at shortstop tonight for your Red Legs will be Kyle Farmer. Behind the plate, the catcher, Tucker Barnhart, batting eighth, and batting ninth, your pitcher, Wade Miley. One more time, India, Winker, Aquino, your 1, 2, and 3 hitters. 4, 5, and 6 belong to Votto, Suarez, and Naquin. And then your 7, 8, and 9 hitters, Kyle Farmer, Tucker Barnhart, and your pitcher, Wade Miley. Have a great night. We'll do this again tomorrow. Until tomorrow, it's been the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
We're
brought the sauce?
I brought the sauce.
Who made the sauce?
I made the sauce.
What's in the sauce?
I am the sauce.
Who brought the sauce?
Spilled the sauce? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills in